on a Wednesday morning into the afternoon with the Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. Another Hall of Famer, Mike Krzyzewski, is going to join us, and we're hoping that'll be about 11:30. Chipper, I don't know if have you ever had a chance to meet Mike?
I have not, and I can't wait for this conversation because one of my first memories when I was a little kid, growing up in Central Florida, and obviously the ties that my parents had to Stetson University, they moved the game against Duke from Stetson University over to the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida, and my parents took me over there to watch that game. Johnny Dawkins, Tommy Amaker, man, it was my first real kind of, Division I basketball type experience, and Duke put the hurt on.
It's okay. It's okay. You got the memories.
Yes.
The other thing about that Duke team, like the Lakers, there were Duke teams that were like the road show. Like when you're on the road, that was big. There was the hotel lobby. There was the arena got buzzed because, look, when you're really good at something, people want to watch you, but they're also hoping they can beat you. Yeah. And they're so good that when they beat your team, you go, oh, yeah, I was supposed to happen. They're really good. Yeah. So you're almost not angry about the fact that your team loses. You got a chance to see a rock star show.
And this was 40 years ago. I mean, Duke wasn't even really at the height of Duke yet, So, but we knew that we had a big-time coach with a big-time program coming in, and we weren't going to miss it. It was must-see TV.
Well, he'll join us at 11:30. We got one or two other things that maybe we're going to work on. We are going to, and here's the goal today. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Good Wednesday morning to you. The Braves Clubhouse Report will be coming up later. Game 2, Braves and Angels, will be coming up later as well. We're going to talk about, obviously, the Atlanta Braves, what they're doing, what they're not doing, and there's a lot more what they're not doing. One of my other goals today is, I just joked with you outside, I'm hoping at the end of the day, I found out 3 things about you that I didn't know. Now, I don't know where that might go. I have no idea what direction we could end up in. But Jim Valvano used to say, you got to laugh, you got to cry, and you got to learn something every day. If you don't do those things, you probably haven't had a fulfilled day. You had a day, but you might not have a fulfilled day. Right. So I don't know about the laughing and the crying thing. Laughing, I imagine, yes. Crying, maybe a tick. We'll see. But my goal is to find out a few things that maybe I haven't heard, or stories that I haven't heard, and in total, then we let the people of Atlanta and beyond, Braves fans listening right now, maybe find out something they might not have known about you.
Well, you asked the right question. I'll let you know.
All right. So we got the 95 World Series we're going to talk about coming up in a little bit, too. It's the 30th anniversary of that, 25th anniversary of an all-star game that not only did you compete in, but you had what we call a moment. And you're going to be able to, let's do this. Let's start out with this. I know the story, but I want to make sure I got it right. 2000, you hit an all-star game home run. Is that the ball bargain that went awry to try to get? Is that the game and the home run ball that went awry when there was a negotiation, or was it another one?
It was another one. I think it was when I passed Cal Ripken, which was a big home run for me. When I passed Cal Ripken, I got shaken down for that one. I finally got to the point, I offered up a bat and a ball and a jersey and blah, blah, blah. You can go right on down the line. Yeah. And it wasn't good enough. And once you knew that it was, the negotiation had to be money-based. Yeah. I was like, you can keep it. And I walked out. And as I was walking out, it was a lady, actually. She goes, wait. I was like, no, we're good.
Do I remember this correctly? Because I swear to God, I didn't know the home run. Did you get the 2000 All-Star Game home run ball back?
I don't think I did.
I don't think you did either.
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
But that wasn't a shakedown. I kind of remember, am I crazy to think that there was a clubhouse kid, Chris Van Zandt? Wasn't he trying to do the negotiation? And I remember because in the old stadium, there was that area where they'd have people stand, and I was waiting to go into the clubhouse. And I just remember him coming out like 3 times. I said, this is not going to end well for these people. Yeah. Because I think they said, okay, we'll do that, but now we want this. I just kind of remember, and it was going to be a photo, and I remember you coming out into that lobby area, and it was just, bye-bye, I got to go.
Yeah, Chris tried to be the buffer as much as possible, tried to be the liaison, tried to get the majority of the negotiating out of the way up front, and normally he would come to us and say, hey, the person has so-and-so, such and such ball. They would like, another ball signed by you and a picture. you know? And at that point, we were like, okay, cool. And it's, you know, a 15, 20-second transaction.
Everybody's happy.
Thank you. I appreciate you, you know, giving the ball back. Everybody leaves happy and, you know, all's well, ends well. This one did not end well.
Yeah. Well, I just wasn't sure which one it was. So there you go. That one is clarified. But I do remember him coming out like 2 or 3 times, and it was, oh, and by the way, we would really also like, and then I was like, oh, this is, I remember sitting at that fake leather couch right in that area where the security guy sat. And I just remember thinking, this is not going to end well for these people. They're going to go home with that baseball.
And what people don't realize is I'm not that sentimental when it comes to, you know, when it comes, I mean, I'm not that, you know, sentimental about my 400th home run ball or my 400th home run bat. I like that I have it, but I'm not going to bend over backwards to regain it.
Yeah. Everybody, again, everybody's supposed to leave happy at the end of one of those. When you realize, I don't think I'm going to be happy, and who cares at this point? Let's just go on. Other thing I wanted to ask you, because we are now at Truist Park, and you did say you're going to go over today, and you're going to talk to some of the fellas. I don't know if you have, and I'm not digging into your phone and what your appointment might be this afternoon, but do you have anything specific? Because we are going to talk about the Braves' woes and what they're doing and not doing offensively. But do you have anything specific, or are you just sort of showing up to say, hey, anybody want to talk?
Pretty much. I think anytime you can get a third set of eyes or somebody else, a fresh perspective on certain things. Number one, I'm going to go give Snit a hug. Yeah. He looks like he needs one.
Sure does.
So I'm going to give him a big hug, and then just, I'm going to go around and test the temperature of the room. I mean, I think rather than just, blasting into the clubhouse and saying, hey, let's go. Most good coaches kind of sit back and they're quiet and they look and they learn a few things. And then, once you get a feel for the room, take the temperature, then maybe you say something. But the list is long, of people that I'd like to talk to. But you got a new guy coming in. Profar's coming back today, so that could change the temperature in the room. Who's going down? You don't know who's going down. You don't know who's going where. You don't know where Profar is going to hit in the lineup. But hopefully, it's the spark that gets these guys going, because the offense has been subpar pretty much the whole year.
And situational hitting, runners in scoring position. Yep. Another second and third, man on third last night with nobody out. You don't get him in. Second and third the other night, they had that happen right after a guy got thrown out at home plate. So the margins are really thin with this team right now offensively, and not capitalizing. And worse than that, giving outs away when there's an opportunity to get a run or two. Those things they bite good teams in the ass. When you're a mediocre sort of offensive team, you're middling. Those will really, they take chunks out of your ass at that point.
Yes, and it's funny. I turned the TV on. We had company last night. I turned the TV on, and Michael Harris had just hit the triple. And I was like, all right, here we go. Nothing game. And then, we get the pop-up, and it was really surprising to see how that left-handed pitcher, Anderson, really took it to Ronald Acuna last night. 0 for 4 punch outs. That doesn't happen very often. But you after the strikeout with Acuna, you just said, "Oh my gosh, here we go again." And the pressure that puts on the pitching staff to have to be perfect. You can't go out there inning after inning when you're opening the bullpen door 3 or 4 times. One of those guys is not going to have
bad math.
One of those guys is not going to have it. Odds are. And last night it was Dylan Lee. Dylan Lee's been great pretty much the whole year. But it just speaks to the pressure that it puts on all facets of the game when you're not getting those easy RBI opportunities in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we've never really talked about this extensively, but what used to be known as the back of the baseball card is now, for the new age folks, it's baseballreference.com. Mm-hmm. And if you look at your baseballreference.com, you got italics, you got bold, you've got 300, 400, 500. There's a lifetime line, which is rarefied air. Mm-hmm. Switch hitter, 303 lifetime average. I know all that stuff. You do too. But there is such an outlier 248 season in there that here's the thing.
Happens.
Right. And that's why if there's anybody, because it's easy to say, young guy, I'm 2 years in. Oh, what does Chipper know about the struggles I'm going through? Hey, brother, getting up to the major leagues, getting hurt before you get to the major leagues. And by the way, you hit 30 bombs that year, by the way. You hit 30 bombs and almost drove in 100. But the 248 I know has to bother you. You lived in a world where, and you tell me, why couldn't you pull yourself out of that part of your game that year? And I don't care what all the other analytics and the pluses and the minuses say. Do you remember or do you know why, and I think it was 2004, why you couldn't?
Yeah, and it goes back to what I was saying about Marcel and the crossover. You don't know what these guys are dealing with on a daily basis. And Marcel, he's been in the lineup pretty much every day. You just assume he's healthy. He's not healthy. I mean, you can tell. I've heard things through the grapevine. He isn't healthy, and that's the reason why probably he's not. It was the same thing with me in 2004. I was having foot problems. I was in a boot for a period of time, I believe. And when you don't have your legs and your feet, your base under you, then you have to compensate in other areas. You get into bad habits. Now all of a sudden, you're behind the eight ball from a standpoint. Okay, I got 250 at bats in. I think I was hitting like 210, 215 at the All-Star break. Everybody's like, the heck's wrong with Chipper? Well, I wasn't healthy, and, I had a pretty good second half to be able to get it up to 245, but that's why I say, a lot of these guys, they won't let on when they're a little gimpy or they're a little hurt.
Well, but there are guys who let on too much.
100%.
Yeah. Because that's the other end of it.
Yeah.
No one cares. Like, I hate to say it, but the reality is, I get it.
No,
but you can't push it yourself, and it can't be your narrative because it just all of a sudden feels a little bit wonky.
Well, you have certain teammates that will use it as an excuse. But like you said, nobody wants to hear that. If you're in the lineup, you're good enough to play, and that was always my gauge, especially coming down towards the end of my career, and I was not feeling good. I was hurt a lot. And I had a pretty good backup in Martin Prado. And this is how I gauged whether Martin played or not was, okay, am I capable of being better than Martin today?
So was that the last year or a little bit long? Because you come in.
It was a little bit longer.
Yeah, because you make the announcement you're going to go. So that has to, I don't want to say gnaw at you. There's a responsibility. What gives us our best chance to win? I'm a veteran guy, and if I don't know what gives us our best chance, shame on me, because I have not been watching, or I'm just not telling myself the truth. So it was a little bit over that. You would measure in your mind,
yes,
do we have a better chance to win if I'm in the lineup or not? Mm-hmm. What is that like when you're a Hall of Famer, a leader of the elite, and you hadn't worried or thought about that because you always knew you were going to be the best option on the field?
It was hard. It was a gradual. I gradually got to that point, but also I feel like the constant questions from my teammates whenever I got to the ballpark asking me if I was going to be in the lineup that day. That was kind of where I was like, golly, when we can't fill out the full lineup until I get to the ballpark, as to who's playing third and who's hitting third, that's really kind of holding people over the barrel. It's tough on Freddie Gonzalez. It's tough on Frank Wren. It's tough on Martin Prado and the rest of my teammates, because if I'm not hitting third and playing third, then the whole lineup shuffles.
No doubt.
Because Martin Prado's not going to be hitting third. He's probably going to be hitting first or second. And then somebody else has got to be in it. So I was just like, it's an awful lot of pressure to put on people. And I will say this: I kind of got the sense from Frank Wren coming down to the end when I finally said, "Hey, this is it. 2012 is it." I could really feel him kind of sit back in his chair and go, "Whew,"
Yeah. So, but explain what that means, because at a certain point, you don't want to, and I don't want to use the term hold hostage, but you know that they have to make decisions.
Yeah.
So was that also part of why you?
So 2013, I was signed for $11 million.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so I had one more year left on my deal for $11 million, and so they're saving that money. Whew, but also, and ultimately, the thing that put me over the top was the fact that I literally went to the first day of spring training in 2012. Feeling unbelievable, like ready to go in spring training. I woke up the second day and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was that sore. I was just like all the pains in the knees, lower back, neck, everything came back just like that. And I couldn't take it.
Was there a day at all in that spring training where you thought I might not go through the whole season? Like, did you have a consideration of pulling the plug sooner?
I had surgery and I heard. I believe I missed the first 3 games of the regular season. We got swept 4 games of the regular season because we got swept in New York, and then we lost the first game in Houston. Okay, and then I came off the DL for the 5th game, and so I literally ran to center field in spring training, and turned at the center field wall to jog back to stretch, and I tore meniscus in my knee. And at that point, you're like, I'm falling apart, man. I need some duct tape and some baling wire.
I'm gonna try to push this across the finish line, but I know I'm not going to feel good many days this year. That's your reality.
Yes, yeah. But I didn't want to quit right then and there.
Was there a moment during the season? The Mike Schmidt.
No.
Okay, so there was never a moment. Okay, because that changes the dynamic of everything.
Yes.
In season. For everybody.
Yes, it certainly does. And it never crossed my mind. I had so much fun with my teammates and that little run that we had. Obviously the adulation that I got from other teams throughout the course of the year was really, really cool. But we had a good group of guys that were just like coming to the park and playing with each other. Not just playing with each other, but like sitting in the clubhouse
big guys.
and shooting the breeze and whatnot. And I think, just like I saw Bobby do in 2010, he really let his hair down,
right.
And let people in, and he enjoyed the process. And I really learned from that. And I think my teammates kind of appreciated the fact that, hey, I was fun chipper. I wasn't always fun chipper, early on in my career, but this guy everybody liked.
So I've told you this, and I think I said it on the air, maybe when you weren't here. I liked you 30 years ago. I like you a lot better now, like in a sense that I really appreciated the baseball conversation, the insight that I got really lucky that there were guys around here. It was still the generation, sit down after a game, sit down before a game. Let's go over here. People might not get this, but you don't sit in a clubhouse until somebody says, pull up a chair. Like, that is the thing for me. You don't sit to talk to a player unless a guy says, pull up a chair. I don't know how much pull up a chair goes on now, and I feel bad for the young people who are covering the game. They're probably not going to have those types of relationships. But I've said that the competitor in you, and rightfully so, would at times, and life and outside stuff would a little bit more of a distance. I think you're in a much better place life-wise now for the last X amount of years. And I think everybody who wants to hear you speak about stuff is in a much better place to hear you speak about stuff now. Because you can give me the baseball stuff.
Right.
I've said your baseball IQ has got to be as good as any, if not better than anybody I've ever talked to. But the other stuff, like, I think you're more open to tell a story. I don't know if you would have wanted to talk about 248 in 2008, right? 2009. Hey, Jim, I got to ask you about 5 years ago. And maybe rightfully so. I don't think you would have wanted to do it. I think there's an openness now that comes with age and everything else, is there not?
100%. I think I learned early on in my career, going through such a public divorce, early on in my career, and it was all, it was brought on myself, it was my fault. But lesson learned, hey, we got to keep people at arm's length, from here on out. So I was a little guarded through the middle part of my career. And you're right. Yourself, Kevin McAlpin, Joe Simpson, those are guys, you guys are guys that, hey, get what you need from me. But if I have 10 minutes, turn the tape recorder off and have a seat,
right.
you know, and let's talk. And I think those three guys above you three guys above everybody else kind of separated themselves, you know, and I had that trust with all of you that once the tape recorder was off, that was off the record.
Yeah.
You know, I could give you some context, but that's off the record. So that trust was built up, and I love those situations. I think at some points, you know, those are conversations that I have with a dad, you know, every once in a while. And I think it's good. It's cathartic for us because sometimes we can bounce stuff off you guys, or we can vent to you guys and not be hurt by it. And
there was a reality check. I won't name the guy, but down in spring training one year, somebody said, "You believe they're going to make us wear golf shirts to go on the road?" I was like, "Is that really a complaint?" Like I said, really, of all the things. And I think my comeback was, win a World Series, you can go to these games pantsless.
Yeah.
You know, like there's just certain things that I don't think are real things. Now, they're real things at the moment. Yeah. But there's also, as you get a little bit older and having a better time with that group because it was the right group of guys at the end is a win. Before we go to the first break, Chipper Jones, by the way, in studio with us. Truist Park, I wanted to get back to this. If you played 81 games a year for 15 years at that park, what do you think the production is?
This park was tailor-made for me. I believe that it carries to the gaps, which is where I hit most of mine. You know, the gaps the other way, dead center field. The ball carries really well. So they would have been better than Turner Field. Turner Field was, especially to right center. That's a poke, man. You're not slightly missing a ball to right center at Turner Field.
You come off the road knowing you have 10 games at Turner Field when you might have been in a more friendly park.
Yeah.
I know you got to go do it, but there has to be that moment where you're driving to the park, the first of a 10-game stretch going, this park is a monster.
Well, especially after that first year in 1997, I mean, we had a good squad, man. Fred McGriff and myself and, Andrew. And, I mean, we had a good club, and I think the leader in home runs was 21. And you're talking about guys that, used to hitting 30, 40. I mean, Andrew hit 50, and the team lead that year was 21. So it takes a little getting used to a ballpark. I guess the ballpark can be broken in as well, but it took us a minute to break it in. 21.
Fenway or Wrigley, how good would Fenway have been for you? 81 games.
Career. I would have led the league every year in doubles.
Oh, you peppering the wall?
100%. Yeah. I mean, some of them would have gone over, but yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Wade Boggs was so good, and Wade Boggs was good everywhere. But you did not. I would want to see his home lifetime numbers in Fenway Park. I bet, because I mean, with a guy that has the back control that he did, and his ability to find the sweet spot and stay inside the baseball, I bet it was mid 350s.
Would it have goofed you up a little bit at the beginning to go, I'm going over the wall every time? Like, would it have taken a little bit of, you just would have said early on, they'll carry if they're supposed to, but I'm going off the 100%.
Wall. That's the way my dad and I built the swing, So, and I tell it to the guys now when I see them getting a little homer happy or coming up and under everything. Hey, we hit the ball through the wall. A lot of better things are going to happen if you try and hit the ball through the wall as opposed to over the wall.
So you're not so old. And again, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like Wrigley at its best for a hitter, but Wrigley at its worst, people don't realize. Everybody just says, oh, just go hit Wrigley. And you do. Explain what Wrigley at its worst is.
Wrigley at its worst is 35 degrees, 15-mile-an-hour wind blowing in, and no shot.
And cold in April.
No shot to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Zero shot. Like, it's, okay, I'm going to try and play pepper with the off-fielder and the center fielder. If I can get it past the pitcher, maybe I can get a hit. But the fact of the matter is the infield at Wrigley Field is like Oakmont rough. You know, the first hop skids and the second hop checks.
So now
it gives the fielder time to get to it.
And you have to think about playing third base in that. So your defense and your offense have to go together. Yeah. But there are days probably at Wrigley where you see the wind blowing out. And
I hated Wrigley.
You hated it.
Regardless.
What if you walked out and the wind's blowing out? What if you just feel like, today? Or is that not even a thing?
That's one of those days where you're like, okay, I know it's going to be like a 9-8 game.
Right.
I want to be a part of it. And then all of a sudden you find yourself trying to hit fly balls,
right.
Just so they'll carry. I had some good games in Wrigley Field. I had a multiple home run game and a playoff game there.
Sure did.
Against Matt Clement, I believe it was. I took Kerry Wood and Zambrano deep in the same game. In a great pitcher's duel with Tim Hudson in one game. But I think if you were to go back and look at the career numbers at Wrigley Field, it was probably one of my worst ballparks.
All right, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Atlanta Braves 2025 version. We got headlines. We're going to do some college football. Chipper Jones, you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. People around here know that. Yeah. You got a new quarterback. And you got a whole bunch of new guys coming in. We're going to ask you a little bit about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll go around the NFL. We'll do a little college football. We got other things, certainly for the Hall of Famer. Mike Krzyzewski, speaking of Hall of Famers, is going to join us at 11:30 today. Maybe something else coming up in the afternoon. 30th anniversary of the 95 World Series. All of that and more when we come back. Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me do this. Chip, they're going to embarrass me in front of the Hall of Famer now. Today's headlines are sponsored by Atlanta Basement Systems, your expert in basement, waterproofing, crawl space, foundation, and concrete repair solutions. Atlanta Basement Systems, all things basementy. Thank God I can read.
I think you nailed it.
Thank you. We'll come back with more with the Hall of Famer Chipper Jones right here on 680 The Fan.
Our entire family at 680 The Fan, the Atlanta.
Welcome back in. 1032, 680 The Fan. Chipper Jones in studio with us. Mike Krzyzewski will join us at 11:30. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Braves. We've got Pittsburgh Steelers talk, college football talk coming up. I want to let you hear, there's some sound that I want you to hear later as well. One of them is, let's just call him, for lack of better terms, Travel Ball Dad. I just want you to hear Travel Ball Dad. Go back on the record. What have you said about, and you don't denounce anybody who does it.
No.
But you don't believe it's for you and your kids.
No, and the reason I say that is because my kids are not on fire for the game of baseball.
Right.
They don't, before their games on Saturdays, Friday nights, they're not sleeping in their jersey like I used to do. I used to sleep full uni, so I could just wake up and go to the ballpark.
Did you cry when it was raining?
100%.
Yeah, I'm not going to play today.
100%.
Yeah.
And I definitely, when I was in Little League, 9, 10 years old, we didn't lose very often, but when we did, it was traumatic. The parents had to take us to Burger King and give us a milkshake to cheer us up, that kind of thing. But
you had a group of guys like that at 9 or 10?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. I grew up in a really small town with a lot of really good baseball players. We won our league every single year.
So this was personal.
Yes.
Even at 10 years old, yes. It was personal.
And it was akin to when I first got to the big leagues with the Braves. You got all these older guys that have been through everything up until this point, and here I am, the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, young kid. It was the same thing in Little League. That's one of the reasons why I think I developed the way I did. I wasn't the best guy on my team until I was 12 years old. I played with guys that were 2-3 years older than me. They were better than me. So guess who had to play up? Guess who didn't want to be picked last?
Figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah. Watch. And a lot of that helped me. And, my agent, BB Abbott, he was 2 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Starting catcher. He showed me the ropes and he was like, this is how we do things here. And so I've had those good mentors from the time I was, 10 years old, not to mention growing up in a baseball family.
So if one of your youngest, your young kids, if one of them all of a sudden does wake up. See, here's the thing. You can't say that you love something for a day. You can't say you love something for 2 days. we had a general rule in my house. If you don't ask for it twice, I know you don't really want it. You're just asking for something. Yeah. So there's got to be a line of, okay, do you really mean it? And really mean it is, oh, I really wanted to go to Jimmy's birthday party. I'd rather go to Jimmy's birthday party.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of trying to really believe that this is something that you're.
Well, see, and you have to make them realize, you know, if you're playing travel, my kids love playing baseball and football. We're not going to do both at the same time. You know, you're going, whatever you start first, you're going to finish. And then we can, you know, start playing football, you know. But you have to make them realize, hey, in the middle of the summer, there's going to be a ton of opportunities to go to little Timmy's birthday party, go to the beach, go to the lake, you know,
swim,
travels, you know, do stuff, you know, with the family that I feel like they're more on fire for than they are baseball or football.
So it's all working perfectly until it doesn't.
Yes. Until one of them starts to show that spark, you know, where if he does get some travel ball offers and he really, really wants to do it, and that's, you know, the number one thing on his plate, I may consider it. But that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. We were just talking during the break, and you and I, and Hank Aaron told me if I would have struck out 100 times, this is what he told me. If I would have struck out 100 times in a season, nobody would have seen me for the entire offseason. I would have been too embarrassed to come out of my house.
Right.
Talk about contact.
Yeah.
Talk about swinging out of your shoes when it's just I don't want to say a dig me moment or a potential dig me moment. But one of the problems that's going on across the street, and you see it with other teams, it's not just the Braves, if you get strikeout happy, if you get home run happy and it leads to non-contact, if you don't situationally move a guy over so the next guy can drive him in, that's not the first team in baseball's history that's had a problem with it. This team just seems a little bit too talented to have it been going on this long. How fair is that?
It's fair. But until you are embarrassed by striking out, and I mean embarrassed, it's not, I don't really feel it's going to change, to be honest with you. And you just described how Hank Aaron felt. He was embarrassed to strike out against people. Yeah. You know, I was embarrassed to strike out people, and guess who I think number 1 and 2 guys in the all-time strikeouts in Braves history are. Now, we did it for a long time. But the fact that we didn't have 100 strikeout season lent credence to the fact that we were trying to be the absolute toughest out possible whenever we walked to the plate.
The guy at the mound better have his lunch pail.
Yes, 300, 400, 500. Everybody asked me, you know, what numbers are you most proud of? 300, 400, 500, without a doubt, is the number one accomplishment, individual accomplishment that I'm proudest of in my career. That tells you that you are not only the toughest out possible, but also when you put the ball in play, you're doing damage as well. You are willing to take the walk and let the next guy in line, you know, take care of it, you know. But that is that's a mentality. And I don't know, not having been in there in quite some time, I'm sure some guys are struggling with some confidence right now. And I think if they were to go up to the plate and try to be the absolute toughest out possible without striking out, some things would probably change a little bit.
But let's deal in a reality now. Hitting is a bitch.
Yeah.
And now you see 3 and 4 arms a night. You might see lefty, righty, hard thrower, junk. I think I've told you this, and we talked about it one time. David Ortiz said, I'm not knocking anybody in the past. And this Ortiz, now he's sort of your generationist type guy. He said, but the guys years ago had 3 and 4 at-bats against one guy. And his line to me was, if I can't figure a guy out by the 4th at-bat, shame on me.
Right.
Now it's lefty, righty, hard, down, low, angles, and everything else. How much harder, because you watch the game, and we can talk about mentals and we can talk about not, you know, fundamentals that might go out the window, contact, but how much harder is it to hit based upon what you see now because of what's happening in a game where you might literally get 4 at-bats against 4 different guys?
Yeah, you could, but I still feel like the general consensus is I'd like for my starter to have a quality start. Go out there, at least give me 5, you know, sometimes 6, sometimes 7. As you saw the guy last night, I think he went 7. So the top of the lineup got at least 3 at-bats. 3 at-bats against that guy. Yes, there are bullpen games where you're going to see 4 different guys. You know, that is a difference in the game. But it doesn't change your mentality from the standpoint of going out there and putting a competitive at-bat up, knowing the repertoire of every guy on that staff. It's your responsibility to know every guy on that staff when you walk up to the plate. You can't do it. You can't cram 20 seconds before you step in the box looking at, you know, a scouting report. You've got to already have that. I say it often. An at-bat is like a test, okay? You know as well as I do when you walk into that classroom whether you're prepared or not. Do you not? You know if you're going to make an A or a B, and you know damn well if you haven't prepared correctly, you know you're going to struggle on that test. It's the same thing when you walk in that box. If you have looked at your video, if you have gone over the scouting report, if you have a game plan against each and every pitcher, your chances of having a competitive bat and getting a base hit go up exponentially.
So what do you think about the possibility of robo-umps or whatever the hell they're going to be called, where it will be taken out of the hands of the humans, who I know that you've had a problem with humans a couple of feet behind you in the past. Do you even like it, or do you think it's an element of the game that's supposed to be an element of the game?
I'm old school. There's some terrible umpires. There's some terrible umpires that were still there when I was here, that are still here.
Like Supreme Court justices.
I mean, they
just get to keep the job.
I'm not going to name any names, but Doug Eddings doesn't need to be, he doesn't need to be umpired, and to be honest with you, I put this out on X a while back. He's been consistently one of the worst ball strike umpires for 2 decades. Put on top of that the fact he's one of the most confrontational. That's a toxic combination, And
so you're talking about taking a test. If you know he's behind the plate.
Oh, swing it.
How much? Yeah. So,
swing it.
Okay.
Swing it.
So that's part of knowing.
When Eric Gregg was behind the plate, swing it. Yeah. When Joe West was behind the plate, we were going to have a big night because Joe West made you throw it over the plate. Joe West was kind of today's age home plate umpire, and don't piss off Joe, because if he gets his feathers ruffled, he's going to stick it to you the rest of the night, no matter whether you're on offense or on the mound.
So here's the other part that happens with umpires. I like the human element, but I don't like when a guy's all over the place. What's a strike in the second inning is not a strike in the fifth. Now you just blank with me and my livelihood and my job and my team's chance to win. So I get that. That happens. And if the robos come in, allegedly, it's not going to happen. But the other part of this is, did you feel, because we talked about it with Tommy and Greg, they got more. Oh, their reputation precedes them. At what point do you think your reputation preceded you where you actually, like an ump might not punch you out?
Oh, yeah.
So how long did that take?
How many called strikes do you think Tony Gwynn got in his last, 5 years? Not very many.
But he earned it.
100%.
Because the umpire now says.
Just like Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz earned it. They could dot a gnat's ass if they wanted to from 60 feet, 6 inches. And, if they're dotting it an inch off and they're getting that, guess where they're going? 2 inches out. And then they dot that enough times, they're going to get that pitch.
So when you're a rookie or your first couple of years, if that happens to you, I don't know who might be on the mound, a veteran guy's on the mound, and that's not a strike, but that guy got it because of what his name is, and I didn't get it because I'm a rookie.
Yeah. Suck on it. I mean, you got to pay your dues.
Okay.
I can remember one time Paul Runge and old school umpire, like cantankerous umpire, and Joe West were on the same crew. Okay. So I was a rookie, and there was a pitch that I didn't like, and I didn't say anything, but I kind of gave it the old, eye roll and whatnot. And man, the next pitch was even farther outside. Yeah. Rung me up. And I was like, well, I can't hit that with a telephone pole, but I kept my mouth shut. So the next night, he's coaching third. Joe West is at second. Runge's at third. And there was a break in the action. And so they come over, and Runge calls me over to him and Joe West. And he goes, Joe, did you know Hank Aaron was still playing here in Atlanta? And I knew what was coming after that. He goes, son, you got to earn your stripes here. That guy out there on the mound has earned his. And, you show us up, and we don't take too kindly to that,
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Yeah.
All right. I want to ask, because we can talk a little bit more about what's not going on. We got other things we do want to talk about over the course of the morning. And again, I really appreciate Chipper being in. The concept of, let's say it's a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, or let's go 15-year-old who's a good player, all the way up to a 30-year-old guy who's got 6 years in the majors. If you were going to go in with, and I don't mean come down from the mountain with 2 tablets, but if you give me 1 or 2 things that you believe you're supposed to be able to say, a hitting thing, to a 15-year-old is a good player. Let's take 10 out of it. But a 15, 16-year-old is a good player, or a 30-year-old 6-year major league veteran. Is there 1 or 2 things that are the absolute givens about how, if you were starting a presentation, that you would say every time you're in front of a player?
I would say I would ask him what's the most important part of hitting? What is the most important part of your body in hitting? It's your eyes, okay? So we have to keep your eyes as still as possible throughout your load and your swing, all right? How do you do that? Well, you have a awesome base, okay? So we work from the feet up, right? I watched Albert Pujols for the first 10 or 12 years, however long he was in St. Louis, never took an off-balance swing. Didn't matter if it was 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 90-mile-an-hour changeup, 86-mile-an-hour slider. He was never off balance.
So can I ask about simplicity then? Because when the toe taps came in, leg kicks came in, lean back came in, which I would think would change your vision, change your sight line.
Doesn't have to, but I could see where you would say that.
So is simplicity also, like, once you get your feet in, that's like plant? You have to.
So I always taught guys to act like they had a rod through whatever their back leg was. Okay. So what we would do is let's say you start 70-30 on your backside. All right. Now, when I took my toe tap, I went to like 90-10, right? But I can still take my toe tap and keep my head so. Okay. The problem is when I got in trouble is when I took my stride, my head went with me, okay? Sliding forward, making, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, a 97 or 98-mile-an-hour fastball. So, yes, trying to dumb it down and keep it as simple as possible is the best way to go about it. And I think the more moving parts, the more things have to line up, the more trouble you can get into.
And that's the avalanche.
Yes.
Can start because you think it's everything else, but it might simply be you don't have what you're supposed to have when you walk in a box, when you plant in a box.
Well, and the physical leads to the mental, okay? The physical, you executing and getting results gives you confidence. Yeah. And on the flip side, when you're doing things fundamentally wrong and not getting results, the lack of confidence is soon to follow.
The tin cup moment. I'm a folding chair. I got everything moving. Tipping pitches. One of the things that people ask a lot about is, did a guy get hit because, or was it just not his day? How many times does it have to happen? The kid Chase Burns in Cincinnati, I want you to hear this. He had an unbelievable major league debut. Everybody was ready to anoint him. Get his plaque ready because he pitched in a major league game. Mm-hmm. When I tell you he gets shelled, listen to what happens when Tito Francona comes out to get him, and you tell me, the guys in the booth, how accurate do you think this is?
It's hard to get hit as hard as this kid is with some of the stuff that he has in this first inning.
Could be he was tipping.
Yeah, he got first pitch sliders off the wall, sliders hitting 413, and changeups off the wall, top of the wall, first pitch. Yeah, I'd say so. Prior to Wilyer Abreu's at bat, Durant talking to Wilyer. Of course, they're covering the mouths. That could be what it looks like. That could also be this is what he's doing when he's throwing this and that. Because that line right there, there's a lot of hard contact.
Yikes.
What is the reality after 20-plus years? How often does it really happen, and who is really good at picking it up to make sure that everybody gets to party?
I haven't seen enough. I didn't watch the first inning. I saw the highlights and whatnot, so I don't know if he was tipping per se or not. I think somebody in the booth probably had something picked up. But they also said, if you keep rolling that tape, you throw the ball in that location at the big league level, you're gonna get smacked.
Yeah,
right.
Reality check.
There were a lot of pitches, you know, in the middle third of the plate that were getting hammered. Yes, Chase Burns, great stuff. He was supposed to be on my futures team pitching for me next weekend. I'm a little mad that he got called up. I'm sure he's not though. But the fact of the matter is if he's not tipping, it did not take long for the league to catch up after his first outing. 20-plus
years in the majors. When people talk about tipping pitches, how often does it really happen?
I would say back in the day, there was something pretty much everybody was doing to tip. You know, now could you find it? That was the question. But like a lot of the big name pitchers back in the day tipped. Randy Johnson tipped. Schilling tipped. Shane Reynolds tipped. I mean, there were some big names that actually tipped. Now, it wasn't – so Randy Johnson was just out of the stretch. Well, guess what? You had to get on base. Somebody get on base for him to be out of the stretch. Kurt Schilling tipped out of the windup. You know, it was harder to pick up his tip out of the stretch. And poor Shane Reynolds, he did both. So when he came over – how
quickly do you let him know?
He comes up to me – because he's a big outdoorsman like me. I knew I was instantly going to be best buddies with him. He comes up, he shakes my hand and says, "Hey, Shane Reynolds." I go, "Hey, you're tipping every pitch."
Good
and
teammate.
it was like I shot his dog. I go, "Do you want to know?" He's like, "Yeah." So I took him in there and I told him, I said, you know, when you get your split grip before you ever come set, but when you put the ball in the glove, you have a split grip. And if your glove, as you go into your windup, stays parallel to your belt, you're throwing a split. And I go, whenever you change your grip, the tip of your glove comes up as you go into your windup. And you're throwing either a fastball or a curveball. And I have eliminated your curveball because you only throw it 4 or 5 times a game.
Right. So I'm sitting on fastball, which I can do without even me knowing what you're going to do. I'm good at it.
Yes.
Now I just got better at it.
Yeah.
What is it mostly glove? I had somebody, I don't remember who told me, no sleeves. They would say with a split, they could actually see a muscle. Is that true? Like, are you guys that adept at picking up? Like, you'd see something down by the elbow. I don't know who the hell told me, but he said he could absolutely see his arm look different when he had the split grip in his glove, and I knew it was coming, and I could see a flex or whatever it was. I was like,
everything goes into it. I mean, pitchers throw different pitches in different arm slots. You know, I can remember a guy for the Mets, Mike Pelfrey. Whenever he was throwing his fastball, he would stick his tongue out.
That's movie.
I'm serious as a heart attack. Whenever he was throwing a fastball, he would stick his tongue out. Whenever he was throwing something off speed,
how do you make it to the majors? You guys should all be embarrassed that guy pitched as long as he did. Who fixes that?
I got so many stories on tips, but I will say this: I was pretty good at it. Nobody's better than Glenn Hubbard.
That's what I wanted to know. Who's the best?
Hubby was the guy. Like, okay, so a guy like Tony Armas Jr. With Montreal. All right. Hubby could get Hubby would know when he was in the stretch, if he got a four-seam grip, he was throwing a fastball. If he got a two-seam grip, he was throwing a slider. So Hubby would do something down at first base. Yep. You know, he might be moving, he might be standing straight up, he might be in a crouch.
Hands on legs.
Yeah, whatever. You know, so we would have these little signs. Now, these are stealing signs organically, knowing okay, this is different because this is being relayed from a coach. Okay, so we know what he's throwing and we've picked it up organically. But just know that if you get caught, you're getting
drilled.
Yeah, you're getting drilled. 100%.
Yeah, even though it was legal.
Yes.
You weren't tipping at a catcher. You weren't
100%.
looking back. You weren't doing any of that stuff. All right, last thing, you just mentioned eyesight. Did you ever get your eyesight measured?
No.
Okay. So when people say 2010, you have no idea what 2010 is. Or,
no.
You know what it is in theory, but it's
pretty good.
Okay. When was the first time you had to put on readers?
40th birthday. The second that I turned 40, I stopped being able to read a book.
Okay.
I can't sign my autograph without them. Does
it pain you a little bit to know that 100%. The most important part of your body?
100%. But I could read a street sign a half a mile down the road.
Could you see a curveball now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a break. Chipper Jones is in with us. Mike Krzyzewski is going to join us at 11:30. We got more. I'm going to ask you about your Pittsburgh Steelers coming up. We're going to do this little thing called NFL Red Zone. I will find out what your thoughts are around the world of the NFL. Sitting here with Chipper Jones up until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Thanks for being a part of it right here on 680 The Fan.
Don't miss a minute of Atlanta Braves baseball. Live tonight from Truist Park as Ronald and the Braves take on Mike Trout and the Angels.
Deep center field. That one flies away.
Get your night started with 680 Game Day.
Welcome back in. The 11 o'clock hour is brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Planning for tomorrow starts today. Visit TrajanWealth.com to learn more about retirement and estate planning. Chipper Jones, well, thank you very much. I can read. I can read. It's just that I don't like doing it, and I don't feel it's necessary. But I'm told by the powers that be to pay the bills, keep the lights on, and everything else, I'm supposed to read it. So I'll do it. I'm not, I don't like it, but I'm not stupid. I'm going to do it. I like to keep the job. I got a few years to go, brother. I got kids in college. How many more years have you ever thought about? Holy crap. I don't think this ever hit me. Do you know how far away from done you are?
Yeah, I have one that's graduated from Kennesaw State. I have 2 at Auburn right now. And I still got a 15, an 8, and a 7 at home.
Yeah, a long time.
I got a lot of rehearsal dinners and a lot of college tuition to still pay off.
Yeah, that is interesting. Have you done the math on your age?
No.
I mean, like when you go high school graduation. I mean, the good news is nobody's ever going to look at you and go, quite honestly, look, here's the good news for you. I'm going to tell you, nobody's going to walk up to you and go, damn, didn't you used to be Chipper Jones? You're always going to be Chipper Jones. But there's going to be a moment you're going to be 60.
Too old.
Yeah. When you're going to go to a high school graduation.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to go, man, I'm 60-something years old now. Yeah.
So I took he was 5 back then, but I took him inside to a Chick-fil-A. I was going to let him play in the little play thing one time, and they had this older fella, cleaning tables off and whatnot. And so Cooper and I were sitting there, and the guy walks up, and he goes, "Are you having a good time with Granddad today?" And I was like, "He's my son." And the guy, his jaw dropped to the floor.
Yeah,
he looked at me, he goes, "Good for you, man."
Right, because it does turn into good for you. We had that moment with my wife. My wife asked somebody, we had a one time and a one time only. "Oh, what do you do?" And the woman had a baby. So we had a new rule in our house. I said, "Listen, gather up everybody. Nobody asks that question.
Don't ask that question.
I don't care if you see crowning.
Yeah.
Literal crowning has to happen. And I don't think you're supposed to suppose that anybody." And the woman was very nice about it, but she had had a baby 3 weeks or 4 weeks
I will
before.
never ask that question.
No way.
Never.
Dumb. All right, you got a new quarterback in Pittsburgh. Let's do NFL. This is the thing we do.
Punching it in from the goal line. This is the drive into the red zone. Presented by A1 Garage Doors. A1 Garage Door Service fixes garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime. From repairs to upgrades, it's A1 from day one.
Hey, listen, I just want to say congratulations. I know you're a Steelers fan. I want you to hear a little bit from your new quarterback. Listen to this.
When I came out of the darkness, something changed. So much love and gratitude.
It's been the best 2 years of my life.
Blah, 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 blah.
Really excited about it. It all goes back to practice.
It's bullshit.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, and on and on. He went to a hobbit hole. He's done a little ayahuasca.
It's a real thing, 100%.
He's married. Maybe he's not married. I don't know.
You don't like it, then just tune it up.
Yeah. So I ask you, as a Steelers fan, congratulations, you have Aaron Rodgers. You would say to me what?
I'll take him.
Okay.
I'll take over Danger Russ and Justin Fields. Man, it was they got off to a good start last year, but the league kind of caught up to the two quarterbacks and obviously the Steelers defense. I said this morning, the Steelers, looking at the Steelers and some of the moves they've made, it's kind of like watching me in my fantasy football draft.
Yeah, how's that go?
Like 4 or 5 years ago when I used to get Frank Gore and, a bunch of old running backs, guys that were good 3 or 4 years ago. But the fact of the matter is they had to plug some holes, in some certain areas, especially defensive back. They've needed a quarterback since Big Ben left. So
they've had a little bit of a Christmas. They've had presents to open. You don't know how it's going to play out. But I'm seriously asking, as a Steelers fan,
believe in yourself.
Because every sports
Love
fan,
yourself.
Every sports fan has had these moments where you go, we're not as good as I remember us being. We don't win in January the way we used to.
But the NFL Shield is better when, like you said earlier, the Steelers are a part of the postseason. The Steelers are good. The Cowboys are good. The 49ers are good. All these teams that have been such an integral part of championship football in the NFL, you got to have these guys.
It looks better on TV.
Yes, 100%. So,
especially now in 4K, 5K, whatever the hell it is. There is something, and I do believe this, there are certain uniforms that invoke. Now, whether it's your childhood, whether it's a little bit more recent than that, but there are certain uniforms that invoke, I love watching these guys, or the opposite. I hate these guys so much, you hate watch.
Well, I was a bit of a front runner when I was a young kid, so I was born in 1972. So the steel curtain defense of the late 70s and early 80s was a big part of my life. They were on TV all the time, and we only had 3 channels at my house. So, being a Steeler fan was just something I kind of grew into. Now I stuck with it, and, they've won a couple of championships in my lifetime. But the fact of the matter is they are, I feel like, getting farther and farther away from what they've been. And to be honest with you, this seems like a one-year Band-Aid, because is Aaron Rodgers going to play past this year?
Or
you're going to have the same quarterback problem next year.
There's a little air of desperation. And you guys have not been an organization that's reeked of desperation at times.
Well, that's because even with all the success that Mike Tomlin has had in his tenure in Pittsburgh, the last 7 or 8 years have not been, and 500 plus teams, but not real competitive come playoff time.
You're a guy, which, like, you guys haven't just been a guy you're a guy now.
Yeah.
And you watch Detroit, and you watch Buffalo, and you watch listen, everybody's trying to get better. So let me ask you about the Atlanta Falcons, because I do know that you root. I know you're a Hawks guy. You go down to a lot of Hawks games.
Yep.
Or you have, and I know the kids sometimes, but you've been to Hawks games. What are your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons as you now see draft a Georgia kid, go get defensive ends, go get rush guys? Michael Penix is here.
I'm extremely excited. Haven't had Bijan on my fantasy team last year. He was my guy. It was good to see them get Penix's feet wet last year, and he showed us what he's capable of. Drake London becoming a number 1 in the league, 100-plus catches. The question has always been, we can score points. Can we stop them from scoring? And as I listen to you guys pretty much every day, what's the one problem? We can't get to the quarterback.
No.
We're always in the teens in sacks,
it's
during
the only
course
team,
of the season.
Chip, it's the only team in the last 10 years that doesn't have 300 sacks. So this is not like a small thing. This has been extended.
This is a big, sample size,
right.
So I like going out and getting the pieces that you've gotten. You've gotten Floyd. You've drafted 2 kids that are way high on everybody's list to be able to get to the quarterback from the outside. You got some pieces in the secondary
that might have a little defensive swagger.
Yes,
for the first time in a while.
It could happen. So you never know how these rookies are going to perform in their first year. There's a lot of a lot of pressure on these pups, and I believe in them because I've been watching them in college. I've been a fan of theirs coming up through college, and I believe in them. So don't you just love the fact that we're here a couple months from the start of the season, and we do have so much excitement around this Falcons.
My line has been, I'd like to date this team. If this team was in a bar, I'm firing on them.
They're pretty.
Yeah, They're firing on them. Because I sort of have thought, you know what? I'm going home. That's how I felt about them. And I was kind of right because there was nothing special about them.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Penix is going to be special, maybe he's not. But let me tell you, if you have a defense that could come off the bus most weeks, and that's the beauty of defense, it's supposed to come off the bus most weeks, he's going to need help. He doesn't need to be trying to come back in the fourth quarter for an entire day of the season.
This thing's just getting started.
How about you go up 12?
Yeah.
How about you have a fourth quarter where you're up 12? And Bijan Robinson, by the way, becomes the biggest chip in the building if you're running out a game and doing those types of things. Go ahead.
That's what good teams do.
No doubt.
Okay, so when I need to string together 2 or 3 first downs, and that's why I love having running backs in fantasy football with good defenses, all right? Because you know that they're going to get off the field in the fourth quarter, and then what's going to happen? You're going to get all those garbage points for your running backs in the fourth quarter. You want wide receivers and quarterbacks with crappy defenses, right? Because you know they're going to be throwing it in the fourth quarter.
Here's your problem when you get it wrong at your fantasy draft and you go, no, we're a pretty good defense, and your running back is sitting on a bench going, there's another game I got nothing out of this guy in the second half.
Yep.
Hey, have you done I don't want to call them bucket lists because it's too cheap and easy. I don't do Mount Rushmores. I don't really do bucket lists. Who's your foursome that you want to play with? I've tried to evolve a little bit past that. But there is something about, like, Detroit's good now. Have you been to a game in Lambeau? I don't even know about this. Have you ever gone on the road to see any of these places now that you're done and September's available and October's available, or has kids just absolutely ruined that possibility for you?
I've been to one NFL football game outside of the state of Georgia, and that was when I happened to be in Jacksonville visiting some friends, and the Steelers were playing the Jags on Monday Night Football, and I got tickets.
Can I tell you, I'm a little bit more than a little bit surprised. I know that fantasy and everything else.
That's one of the things you've learned today.
Yeah, it is one of the things. Why have you not Atmosphere, Lambeau, Chicago, Baltimore, go to Buffalo?
Chris, I haven't even been to a Georgia football game, like over in Athens. I've Ever. Never been to a game in Athens. Okay?
That makes no sense to me.
But see, here's my thing. Part of it is my notoriety. I don't.
You want to go to a game?
I would love to go to a game. I don't want to be messed with at a game. But I enjoy the relaxation of sitting on my couch, being 10 feet from a bathroom, being 10 feet from my refrigerator.
3 TVs. I get to watch every game.
I get to see all the replays. I get to see the ins and outs, and nobody talks to me.
And by the way, I used to say, you know what my traffic jam is? I step over an ottoman and I go to bed.
Yeah.
That's my traffic jam at the end of the day. And if I'm a little buzzed, no one cares.
Maybe I fall flat on my face.
Who cares? I can do it. I pick myself up. I've done it before. But it is surprising. So I'm not telling you need me to arrange any of this stuff. But if I said to you, Georgia, Texas, are you going or not going? This year,
I'm not going.
You're not going?
I'm not going. I am going to a Georgia game this year, but it's not in Georgia. It's not at Georgia.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Auburn. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you who got me tickets.
No. But you got kids.
But it's
Tim Hudson got me tickets.
Yes, 100%. I'm in a. We are. It's probably going to be me, Huddy, D-Row, B-Mac, Rossi. We'll probably
and Mark's daughter.
Yep.
Auburn.
Right?
Yeah.
So D-Row's daughter is also at Auburn. I have 2 there. So, but we will be in a suite.
Oh, he's a hell of a host.
Yes.
They invited me and my wife out one time to go there. They host it. They own Auburn. Like, they're like, I don't know if they're the first family of Auburn, but it certainly felt like they were the first family of Auburn.
I mean, I would probably have to go with a Barkley or a Bo Jackson or a Frank Thomas, but Tim Hudson's definitely on that list.
No doubt about it. So, all right, well, there's another thing I learned. So you don't, if there's anything that anybody here, we can snap our fingers and go, there's an event. Send Chipper. Send your wife. You want to go with two buddies, go with two buddies. Is there an event that I could actually spit out now that you would go, oh, no, that I would do? And if you want to think about it, I don't need it now. But is there anything where you go, yeah, my couch is still a little bit better? Is there anything that the event would be better than your couch?
I will tell you this. I have done two things golf related that were bucket list for me.
Okay.
And I will never, ever do them again. Okay. I have been to the Masters.
Uh-huh.
All right. I wanted to go walk around with Tiger and see what that was like. First time. It was actually a Friday afternoon. I didn't want to go on the weekend because I wanted to be sitting on my couch. I wanted to see everything.
I agree.
Right? So I went on a Friday, and it was the Friday that Tiger took the illegal drop on 15. Remember, he hit the flagstick, goes back in the water, and then took the illegal drop.
And you're following him, so you're there.
I was following him, right? That was the last hole that I watched on the day, and then we took off. We followed him for like 12 holes. Mm-hmm. All right, so I did that. And then I always said that I wanted to go to a Ryder Cup, which I think is one of the greatest sporting events on the planet, okay? So I go to Whistling Straits. The USA mops the floor with Europe, right? It was a great time. I sat on the 16th green, 17th tee box.
You can see
right?
both.
So you got the par 5 16th, par 3 17th, right? I was buzzed for 4 days, man. It was awesome. Had a great time, but I missed so much of the action, you know?
I say the same thing. You're at the event.
Yes.
And Saturday,
it's a mile and a half walk from where we were set up on the tee box to where our bus picked us up.
Now you sound old.
100%.
So
but I'm not doing it again.
So if I said Bethpage this year, Ryder Cup end of September, New York crowd, mother blank and every European that comes through, it's easy to drink because they.
Oh yeah, so
would you do that?
Chipper Jones walks into Bethpage Black with a bunch of New Yorkers that freaking hate his guts. Yeah, I'm going to be seen. I'm going to be seen there. That's must see TV.
This is tremendous. Because by the way, would you have to bark back? Now, listen, there is a respect. You can say New Yorkers, but the Larry thing and everything else, there is a respect there. Yeah. I think you're reading this wrong. I think they'd want to bust your balls to sort of see, how do you react? But at the end of the day, you wouldn't pay for anything. Honestly, 100%. I believe the New Yorkers, more than any other place, would pay for your crap all day long.
But there's always going to be that one guy that I'm going to have to clap back at.
Okay.
And
it's going to be caught on video.
I will have been drinking all day, and it will be caught on video, and it'll be mainstream by the time we wake up.
So you're saying there's nothing left. You don't want to go to Beth. If I invite you right now to Bethpage.
I'm not going.
Okay. Listen, it's on the record.
Okay.
I need it officially on the record.
Okay.
Detroit, Dan Campbell. When you see him, hear him, what is the athlete and you say, what is the...
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And you can tell that the players have bought in. Now, how long does that last? We saw it here with Coach Bro. You know, I mean, it was cool at first. The guys really bought into it, but I mean, sometimes it gets old.
You just pulled a Coach Bro on Dan Quinn.
That's what you guys call him.
I know. Would you have liked to played for him? Like a guy who is...
Oh, yeah.
Because baseball, Bobby, we know, he get red, he chew you out. But football, there's more, it's seen more, like that dynamic. Yeah. And it's different because there are practices where get off my blanket field if you're not doing it right. That's a real thing.
Right.
Do you like that? Like, would you have liked that?
I need my coach to have some discipline.
Okay.
You know, I need him to blow a gasket every once in a while. I need, at certain points, the guys in there need to think of him as a good buddy, and sometimes they need to think of him as a dad taking off his belt, you know, about to put me over his knee and
because
give me a spank.
We need a lesson.
You need to fear him to a certain extent, and I think you knew that with Bobby. Bobby, you know, you could stick your head in his office and stick your toe in the water and see where the the warmth of the water was, and you knew where he was at. He was wearing it on his sleeve regardless. That's kind of how I was too, though.
But you wanted it because you knew that he was genuine. Because I think the problem with the whole...
You need structure. You need discipline to be a leader of men, I believe. You can't be everybody's best friend.
No, and your moments, like if you I want consistency, but I know when you're really pissed.
Yeah.
Because you don't pull this card often.
Right.
I know when you're complimenting me because you don't pull that card often. There's the reality of, right? Like, I can have faith that the guy that I might see today, I know who it's going to be.
Yep.
He's not changing whether we're winning or whether we're losing.
100%.
All right. I'm going to go back to Buffalo for a second. I know you're a Florida kid. You play down here in the South. Nobody really likes the cold. But if I said playoff game in Buffalo, Steelers, Bills in Buffalo. I'm just trying to come up with the one thing.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
All right.
Can I get an indoor building?
All right. Let's say they do that dome thing in Buffalo a few years from now. We're going to go. Before we finish,
I will tell you this. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
One other, I've done a Kentucky Derby. That was a bucket list.
Hold on. Did you do the whole silly dress-up thing? Like, were you comfortable with what you wore? If you look at
100%.
So if you look at a picture now,
my blazer game is on point. All right. Now the wife's hat, the wife's hat was a bit much,
excessive,
a little bit, But I am completely proud of how I represented myself up there.
Was that Sweet Living? I'm assuming that was
Sweet Living.
Were you invited or were you the host?
I went with BB, my agent, and a couple other couples. There's about 8 or 10 of us. Yeah. So
God, you're so domesticated.
They set it up.
You're so domesticated. All season long, when the Braves hit a home run, you'll score a round trip or instant discount on a set of 4 Goodyear or Cooper tires, plus a free alignment and free oil change the next day. Only at Tire Discounters. The more home runs the Braves hit, the bigger the deals. For more details, visit TireDiscounters.com/Braves. Chipper Jones is with us. Mike Krzyzewski, thank you very much. Again, I stumbled a little bit. Don't think I don't know. I'm okay with criticism.
That was a really smooth transition.
It was very close to smooth. I was very, very close to smooth. I think all of this, Mike Krzyzewski's coming up. I hope he calls on time.
Who cares?
I got college-age daughters. I got a lot of angst. We'll go to break on this. You don't have to tell me everything. But are you on meds like I'm on meds? Like, has your anxiety ever gotten you to the point where you had to, and you don't have to get into too much detail, or are you free-spirited enough in your mind where you go, hey, man, kids are kids. Maybe you have boys. Maybe it's because you have boys, not girls.
No, I'm not, taking anything.
But
I drink stuff that settles me down.
That's cool. Do you have angst?
No, I don't. That's where I am in my life. I'm sweating the All-Star week a little bit,
Too much?
I'm spread
You're doing a lot.
Pretty thin, yeah. So that gives me a little bit of anxiety. The older and older I get, flying gives me
the
anxiety.
whole process of it, or the actual sitting in the plane, or both?
All of it, because there's so many of us to get prepared.
You gotta herd cattle, brother.
Yeah, so some Advil for my aching body, but other than that, I'm good.
All right, God bless you. Good for you. You're living a life, man. Listen, I wasn't sure I'd ever say this about you, but you got it going on.
I know.
This is a really good time in Chipper Jones' life. Good for you.
Life is awesome.
We're going to come back. Mike Krzyzewski, the Hall of Famer, is going to join us. Chipper Jones right here on 680 The Fan.
The 11 a.m. hour is brought to you by Trajan Wealth, your local trusted financial...
11:26. Got a couple of special guests in the studio today. Chipper Jones, certainly first and foremost among them, but we've got a couple of family friends and a couple of their friends coming in. Mike Krzyzewski is going to join us coming up in a couple of seconds. I just realized something. I was going to save it for the break. Do you know what you and Magic Johnson have in common, Chipper Jones?
We were both Laker fans. How about that?
Do you know on your baseball reference page, it says Chipper Jones, like it's your Christian God-given name? Magic, on his basketball reference page, says Magic Johnson. And I don't know how many guys have that happen. Like, normally it's your real name because it's official. It's baseballreference.com. It's NBA reference or basketballreference.com.
No Larry Wayne.
No Larry Wayne. It says Chipper Jones in your baseball reference. And I didn't notice that until I actually looked at. I wanted to make sure that 248. I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but I wanted to look, and it says if you type in Larry Jones, you know what it says? Chipper, and then you click on it, and it says Chipper Jones. So that's not like a nickname. Like, I almost think that's weird that it's not Larry Jones.
You learn something
every day. Every day.
Crazy.
Mike Krzyzewski is going to join us coming up here in a couple of seconds. I want to finish up
nervous
on football. Are you?
I'm so nervous.
So who is? I don't want to play this. This is so easy. Who's the most famous person in your phone that most people would say?
The Rock.
Okay, and people will get nervous about that. Now, can I tell details? Can I give one little detail, what I know about you and him?
Sure.
Was there a chance that he ever, let's just say, look at a piece of property? Am I allowed to sort of, at this point, am I allowed to?
Yes, he did. He came. So I moved into this gargantuan stinking house, I don't know, 6 years ago. Worst purchase of my entire life, all right? I am 4 to 5 months being in this house. Boxes everywhere, not even fully moved in yet. And my realtor calls and says, hey, somebody wants to come look at your house, but you have to sign a confidentiality agreement.
Are we going to blow this right now, or are you out? You're good?
Whoa. Coming to my house? Does he know whose house it is? And she goes, Chipper, it's Dwayne Johnson. And I go, okay, I'll sign it. So, fun fact here, something you didn't know.
Please.
I signed with the University of Miami out of high school, all right? I was born 1972, April 24th. Dwayne Johnson also signed to play football at the University of Miami, born 1972, exactly 1 week later, May 1st or May 2nd.
So you might have known him in a different way.
I totally would have hung out with The Rock.
Right. And instead, he just come to look at your property.
So how about this? He comes and he looks at the property, and my nanny had gone to the grocery store, had, I don't know, $300 or $400 worth of groceries. The Rock is helping us take groceries out of the back of the car, and my nanny's jaw dropped to the ground.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he can induce that type of emotion amongst people.
He makes me glad I didn't play college football.
Right.
He's a big man.
Let's do this. Mike Krzyzewski, Hall of Famer. You just said 3 seconds ago, Mike was not on hold yet, that you're nervous that Mike Krzyzewski's coming on because this is sort of different.
Yeah.
And again, I'm looking forward to it. Mike has become a friend of the show in a lot of good ways, and John Jackson, one of the gentlemen he's been with forever, really was nice enough to set this up. Coach, good morning, by the way. How are you today?
Yeah, doing great. Listen, I wish Chipper was nervous when he was in Wrigley Field, knocking the crap out of a ball and beating my Cubs.
Just doing my job, Coach. Just doing my job.
I'll tell you what, he was never nervous playing for the Durham Bulls either. Those were good days. When I followed him. I followed you throughout your career. From when, because I was here, obviously, when you were with the Bulls at Duke, and always wanted you on the Cubs.
Well,
because as many home runs as you hit, you would hit more in Wrigley Field.
Well, I can certainly say that my time, while very short there in Durham, there was a little bar that we used to hang out at called Halftimes, and that is actually where my relationship with Grant Hill started, like early 90s. So that was 1992, and I can just remember being awestruck by, Hurley and Leitner and Grant, Thomas Hill, and those guys walking in there. And we were just like, man, these guys are the pinnacle of college basketball right now. It was really fun interacting with those guys.
Yeah, they were. In order to have success as a coach, you need really good players. And then when those really good players are also really good guys, then you have a chance to be a championship level team. So, anyway, I've loved your career. I've actually loved being on with Chris over the years. We've always had a good time being on the show.
Yeah, and you're not kidding about your Cubs fandom. We actually sat down one day. You were nice enough to actually talk just baseball and growing up as a Cubs fans. And while rooting hard, the futility that comes without the World Series and everything else, that is a fandom that not a lot of people understood. So let me fast forward. When they do win the World Series, even though you're not 10 and 12 years old and you're not living in the neighborhood, what's that like for you when the Cubs finally get over the hump?
No, it was generational. I mean, people have followed, my family's just followed Chicago teams, but especially in baseball, the Cubs. And, Chicago's a great sports town, but the Chicago Cub fans are great fans. At times, though, we like to have too good of a time at the ballpark. And so to win it, we haven't always been good in late game situations. But Wrigley Field's the biggest tavern in Chicago. So, the Cubs have a good team this year. I've been following them like crazy. And Crow Armstrong has been like, wow, what a good player. We got Tucker. We got the infield with Horner and Swanson. It's good a shortstop and second baseman, and hopefully our pitching can get us. Right now we're doing a good job, but I'd like to. I wish we had a little bit more pitching. As everyone would like to have a little bit more pitching.
Well, I think your starting pitchers are doing a whale of a job right now. Coach, I want to get back to a little bit of basketball. I'm from Central Florida. Both of my parents attended Stetson University. And I can remember you guys came down to play Stetson, and they moved the game from Stetson University to the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. Sure. I'm not exactly sure what year that was, but I was awfully young. And that night, a young man on your basketball team impressed me. He became one of my favorite ball players because not only could he get the ball in the hoop, but he was revered by his teammates. Tell me a little bit about Johnny Dawkins.
No, well, he was the first great player. He put us on the map. The McDonald's All-American, a lottery pick, 4 year. At that time, people went to school played for 4 years, and now he's the coach at Central Florida. And really one of the great guys, but our first great player. And no, we played Stetson a few times. Your coach was a good friend, Glenn Wilkes, who was a legendary coach and someone who helped in international basketball. He was a great clinician. And really during that time, Stetson had, not that they have bad teams now, but they were at a really high level because of what Glenn was able to do. And they came out in warm-ups with cowboy hats.
I don't remember that one.
They did. Yeah. Maybe because they were playing us. And, but no, Glenn was a great friend. And thank you for bringing up Johnny, because our program would have never gotten the foundation that it got without him.
I'm going to fast forward quite a bit. How are you enjoying retirement? And I know you're busy, but it's a certain different kind of busy. How do you actually enjoy this part of your life? How are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm retired from coaching and recruiting, God bless. But I still work at Duke. I have a lifetime contract, same office staff, and a lot of the same responsibilities. I work for the NBA now. The last 2 years, I'm a special advisor to Adam Silver, so I'm at all their meetings. And I do a lot of speaking for the Washington Speakers Bureau all over the country. I still have my Sirius XM radio show for about 30 weeks during the year. It's we just finished our 20th year, and I'm a professor at our Fuqua school. Our graduate business school. I lecture. I've been with them for about 25 years, and we have 10 grandkids. My 3 daughters, they all live within 10 minutes of us. So my calendar's full, man. But it's only doing things that I want to do, which I've loved. But no, I'm busy and good, and stay really active in all those areas.
Coach, I heard a story the other day about an interaction with you and Kobe Bryant surrounding maybe some shot selection with the Olympic team. I wanted to know if that was true, number one, and what was the transition like from being a predominantly, all college coach, and then going into the Olympics with all these superstars. And, I'm sure there was quite a bit of discipline on your part with the college guys as they need it, but then the transition into the pro game.
Yeah, well, I really loved, coached the United States team for 11 years, being the national coach, and I loved it, and the guys were fantastic. And a big thing was all the really outstanding players all want to get better, and a lot of times in their parent organizations, because they are the best player, you're coaching all the other guys and not them. They're being who they are, and with the U.S. team, we held them accountable, and they held each other accountable, but you didn't do it the same way that you would do it with college guys. And we basically had great relationships. We established standards of how we're going to live together, and I got along great with all of them. And the one thing with Kobe, I miss Kobe terribly. I had the honor of coaching him twice, in 2008 in Beijing and 2012 in London. And in the Beijing Olympics, the last exhibition game in Shanghai against Australia, he started taking some
taking some Laker shots, some LA Lakers shots.
Not U.S. shots. Laker shots from Kobe, not what JJ's doing right now. And the rest of the team knew that that's not allowed. And I had a meeting with Kobe, and scared to death, really, of having the meeting with him, and basically asked him, showed him the shots, and I said, you can't take those shots. And I was waiting for World War III, and he just said, Coach, I won't take those shots. And I don't know if he was testing me to see if before the Olympics actually started, if he was that smart, would I hold him accountable? And then really, nothing. It was easy. And then obviously we went on and won, and in the last 8 minutes of our gold medal game against Spain, he stepped forward in one of the huddles and said, Coach, this is our moment, man. I was getting ready to write up a play, and he said, we don't need a play. We're ready. And then a few of the other guys spoke, and they went out on the court, and instead of running one play, they made play after play. And I get chills just thinking about it, because it's one of those, just like Chipper, you can relate to certain moments that are just moments that a lot of people never experience. And we had a gold medal moment as a result of those guys and their commitment.
I hope I get this close to right. When you just said, I'm not coaching, I'm not recruiting, I think I might have heard thank God in there, and I'm not positive I heard thank God.
No, I said God bless.
God bless. Okay.
But I could have said thank God. I coached for almost 50 years, man, and I wouldn't have gotten out. I got out because at that time I was 75 years old, and I still feel young and whatever, but Chipper can relate to this because he is a great player on great teams. There's a commitment to preparation that you have to make, not just a commitment to want to win. And that commitment to preparation is a big one, and time and if you do it, I feel you're worthy of winning. And I can still coach. I still know the game, but I was tired of that preparation and obviously the frequency of recruitment of players. But it was more, I'm 75 and what the hell, like it's been good. And let's move on to some other things.
You were open and honest with Nick and myself a while back. You talked about when there was, I don't want to call it a flirtation with the NBA, but we've seen it now. The idea of why wouldn't you want to be hired? If you were 50 and NIL was in play, and I know I'm not supposed to deal in hypotheticals, but I have to ask. If you were 50 and NIL had started and everything that's going on had started, and I'm not asking you for your opinion on all of it, but do you think that would have been an impetus to say, whoa?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. If I was that age and have had a great level of success that we had, there'd be a great chance that I'd want to be an NBA coach right now. And when I looked into a few of those situations, the only thing I really ever wanted to be was a college coach. And then the college game is great. It's just it's a pro game right now, and God bless the kids are making a lot of money. The game is still terrific. But it really is pay for play, which is fine. So if I'm going to do that, why don't I go to the best league in the world where they do pay for play and actually have people who figure out all that stuff where I could just coach, And so, no, it'd be different. And I think the very successful college coaches now, hopefully we'll have opportunities to think about those things, and whether they stay or not, that's going to be on them. But hopefully a number of them have those opportunities.
Can you guys both tell me, is this an analogy that works? Mike, you didn't have immediate success. And a lot of guys who come up to the major leagues or guys who get drafted, Chipper was a 1-1 overall. If you don't have success, people start to ask why. And then everything can get crazy around you. But you have to get your legs under you. I'm assuming that's the real thing. You have to get your legs under you. But you need somebody in your corner to say it's going to be okay. Mike, when it started out for you, do you believe you would have lasted if you had the same start to a career in 2025 as a college basketball coach? Do you think the result is different in terms of how long you get to prove that, no, we're on a path. We're just not there yet?
No, but I'll tell you this. I wouldn't. I was dealing with 4-year players that were going against me. Ralph Sampson for 4 years, Michael Jordan and Worthy, and Michael for 3 years. So, the competition level was different. So I think we would have succeeded quicker if it was this day and age. But I had two amazing people who believed in me. My AD, Tom Butters, and my president, Terry Sanford. And I would say there's a third and fourth person. One, my family as a group. And then I believed in me. I didn't believe I was going to fail. And then I had people around me who had my back. And you're not going to do it alone, so you need people who believe in you and will have your back. And I had that, and that's really one of the reasons I've stayed at Duke my entire career, because this school had my back when I was going at the beginning and when I had some health problems right midterm about 20 years in. So there's a loyalty factor, and I fell in love with the school.
Can I ask both of you guys, and Chipper, I'd like you to answer too, when people know, when you achieve something, when you actually are in that great conversation, how hard is it to maintain? In Major League Baseball, hard to get here, harder to stay. College basketball, you win once, they're already asking before the paint is dry, when are we going to do it again? Can I ask both of you guys about having success and then knowing that people are looking at you a little bit differently than maybe they look at other people?
That's one of the things I had the hardest time keeping it at arm's length. Once you are playing on TBS every night and we win a World Series my first year in the big leagues, and we go to the World Series my second year and lose, and have that much success that early, Of course you're expected to do it every year. You know, once you establish yourself as, let's just say, a 300 average guy or a 30 home run, 100 RBI guy, once you do it once, yeah, you're expected to do it every year. David Justice taught me that very early on in my career. He wanted to hit 39 homers. He didn't want to hit 40 because once he hits 40, he's got to do it every year. And that expectation is it weighs on guys. And it just, you know, I think having, like Coach was saying, having that team behind you, whether it's mom and dad or extended family, or best friends. My best friend has been my agent for the last 25 years. Having that kind of support system behind you. Truth tellers. Yes, truth tellers. The ones that don't care that you're Chipper Jones or Mike Krzyzewski. They're your friend. They're one of the 3 or 4 guys that you can call when the rubber meets the road, and they will drop anything and everything to be there for you.
So, Mike, what's it like to be successful and know that maintaining that, you're everybody's bullseye? Let's just start with that. But the idea that there's an expectation that hadn't been, great, pressure makes diamonds. I get all that stuff. But there really is something to that, is there not, of the expectation going forward every year, year in, year out?
Yeah, and I think it's different for a player than it is for a coach. And so if you're coaching Chipper Jones or Grant Hill, who was there for 4 years and won a national championship and won another one, I wanted to, like for me, I liked having a bullseye on us, but I had to make sure, because I wanted to do it again and again, but it wasn't like being a player. So I had to make sure my players didn't feel that pressure, but starting new, make sure that they're not too hard on themselves, that they don't defeat themselves and what I would always tell them, let's live up to our own expectations, forget everyone else, listen to one voice, our voice. And I tried to make it better for the player, but I find what Chipper says is incredibly interesting and true, that for that player, that the guy who's actually going to be doing it, the coach and his staff and the people around him have to create an environment that's more conducive to them wanting to do it over and over again, and like Chipper said, and have their back.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we know you got to run. There's a lot of things going on. As I said, you're the busiest retired guy maybe in the history of America. But please keep it going. And the door is always open. We'd love to have you come on in, and thank John again for helping to set this up, and really look forward to catching up to you when we can.
Yeah, one last thing. Chipper, you and the Braves had your own TV station and TBS, and the Cubs had WGN. And but you've made better use of it than the Cubs did.
Well, Mike, thanks very much. We look forward to doing it whenever it's possible.
All right. It's great being on with you, Chipper.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike Krzyzewski right there on 680 The Fan. We'll take a quick break. We got other things we need to do over the course of the next couple of hours. Chipper Jones is going to be in studio with us for the rest of the way. We have some college football stuff that we want to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about NIL. You heard Mike Krzyzewski talk about it. I think there's an honesty in a lot of guys' voices when they reach a certain age about what this is. Happy for the players getting money, but the dynamic of the game has absolutely changed. The 11 o'clock hour is brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Planning for tomorrow starts today. Visit TrajanWealth.com to learn more about retirement.
Good job.
11:58. Welcome back in. It is almost the 12 o'clock hour, which will be brought to you by the fine folks at Scanna Energy. 12 o'clock hour is brought to you by Scanna Energy, the official natural gas partner of Georgia Tech. I can also tell you, while it did not go well yesterday, the Braves did indeed pitch a scoreless fourth inning yesterday against the Angels. Celebrate with clean car shine worthy of the Major Leagues at Tidal Wave Auto Spa today as a part of their clean inning car wash celebration. All new members can get half off their Best Wash membership for the first month. Visit TidalWaveAutoSpa.com/Braves for more information. Well, that's a piece of good news. You're going to be driving around with a cleaner car at less price because the Braves threw a scoreless fourth. Now, a little bit later in the game, it wasn't quite as scoreless.
Can we score in the fourth?
Yeah. How about this?
Whatever.
Do you know? Well, you do know. Maybe you haven't, though. Have you seen the reality is the Miami Marlins run a 7-game winning streak. The Braves' longest winning streak is 4 games. The Pittsburgh Pirates had a run. Now, they've won 5 in a row, but they beat 2 teams 4 games 37-4. Now, Skeens hit the mound, and of course, it was a 1-0 game. He doesn't even get the win. They scored 37 runs in a 4-game stretch. Paul Skeens is driving to the ballpark going, hey, fellas, just give me 3.
Yeah.
They gave him nothing.
Well, here's what happens. Those top of the rotation guys normally match up with top of the rotation guys from other teams. So somebody's going to get screwed as far as run support.
But 37 runs for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and this guy gets a bagel without a win. But I bring it up to say the Marlins are on a 7-game win streak. I think the Cardinals had a 10 or 11. I think Minnesota had 11 or 12. The Braves' longest win streak is 4 games.
Where's ours? Yeah. And it just seems like this club, and I've heard you say it, something good happens and then something bad happens right on top of it. Whether it's a suspension or an injury or, a slump, it just seems like, we win 2 or 3 in a row and then we lose 5, or something good happens and then something bad happens.
Is hitting contagious?
100%.
You believe that? Do you believe momentum day to day?
I do, because, the first guy gets on and the pressure to keep the line moving falls on the next guy. And then they walk up there and they're like, well, it's not going to end with me, and that's the kind of mentality that you have to have. If you constantly coming up 1 or 2 outs, nobody on, having to start it yourself, what do you think you're going to try to do? You're going to try and provide instant offense.
Sure.
You're not going to take the single to left. You're going to extend the swing and try and go deep.
Let's get one. But the reason I ask, why then do you think, and there were shortcomings on this team, and I don't need deep dive analytics to tell me what they don't do is score enough runs, 3 or fewer. We're almost at 40 now. 1-run games. It's not a good record. So, but why hasn't a winning streak happened? So because it just seems the odds of a team that, and I'm not even doing the back of the baseball card, but if I look at the Marlins on a 7-game win streak, who, by the way, now are in front of you because of 7-game winning streak, and I look at the Twins who won 11 and 12 in a row, they can't win right now. Braves haven't had a peak. Because
you've gone 40 games of 3 runs or less. You've gone 40 games, half of your games have been 3 runs or less. You're not going to... our starting pitching staff has been outstanding.
It's been ballsy.
Has been outstanding. They've been really good. They have a clunker every once in a while, but for the most part, they've been pretty consistent. As consistent as you would think the offense would have been. But when you're, half of your games are 3 runs or less, it's very hard to string that many dominant pitching performances in a row to hold them to 2 runs or less.
And then multiple guys coming out of the bullpen because we know that that's bad math.
Correct.
So I'm not asking for the secret of NIM. I'm not asking you to tell me something that all of a sudden we're all going to be enlightened and I'm going to start levitating. But Philadelphia comes in. They had been outscored 5-1 in a 3-game series. 5-1. They scored 1 run in a 3-game series against Houston. They put up 13, and the next day they struggled to get 2. So you tell me as a player, you've got to feel good about the idea that we just popped. We opened. It's 13. Now it's going to get – we didn't put up 2 the next day. So what's the –
I always hated throwing, 12, 13, 15 runs up on the board because the meters, it's coming back to the medium some point. I mean, you're going to – I believe that we went on a streak. It might have been – 06, where we went to it might have started at home, then we went to San Diego and St. Louis, where we scored 10-plus runs in 6 or 7 games in a row. You can bet
the crash.
Yeah, the market's going to correct itself at some point, and you're gonna run into a Verlander who's going to shut you out, into a Scherzer who's going to hold you to 1, into a Schilling that's going to hold you to 1 or 2. It will correct, and you run up against streaks like this during the season where you face 3, 4, and 5 starters maybe 6 or 7 times in a row, where you better get good, because you're also going to run into those streaks where you're facing 1 and 2s 4, 5, 6 games in a row, and that's where the market corrects.
How about general picture? If I would have told you the Braves' longest winning streak, as the calendar turns to July, was 4 this year. This year, if I would have said that March 15th, what would you have said?
I would have. Who's your bookie?
Because it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
What if I would have said calendar turns to July and the Miami Marlins are in front of you?
Oh, I definitely would have said, who's your bookie? You know, I mean, but that's the great thing about baseball, man. Right out of the gate, okay, we go 0-7. We lose our left fielder to a PED suspension. I mean, it's just like, a kick to the groin right out of the gate. And I don't know that they've ever recovered.
You really believe that maybe there's a chance that,
look, Jurickson Profar, I said this from day one once we signed Jurickson Profar. He's their Swiss Army knife. Like, okay, he can play left field. Obviously, that's where he's going to play. He can also play the infield. He can hit first. He can hit second. He can hit sixth. He can hit eighth. He can hit ninth. You know, he lengthens your lineup. He's your Swiss Army knife to be able to do a lot of things with, and to lose that after – what, 2 games?
Yeah. 15 at bats, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, whatever it was. That's a big deal. And I just don't think they, combined with the 0-for-7 right out of the gate, I just don't know that they ever recovered from.
We did something yesterday or 2 days ago, but we did it when he got popped. And again, I'm not asking for, this deep dive. But as a fan, what's your disappointment level or anger level when that happens, where you're turning possibly the season on its head because I don't have you available to play for a minimum of 80 games?
I am first and foremost a Braves fan. I want the success of the team and the organization that I love so much. Am I disappointed in Profar? Yes, I'm disappointed in him. You as a fan pay for your ticket. If you want to come in here tonight and boo him, that's your choice. I prefer to look at it as, hey, we need this guy, and we need him more so than ever now. So let's not put a lot of negative karma in the atmosphere. Ultimately, this guy's going to help us win some games. Hopefully, it's a lot in the second half. But I understand the fans' frustration with putting something in your body for a selfish reason, and
others pay the price. So do you think the veteran in you would want a minute with him alone, 2 minutes alone, to say, hey, man, we need you?
Yeah.
So
100%.
I don't know if I'm going to get your mind right with this little talk, or if there's a moment that you need to, if you're feeling like whatever. Is that a responsibility of a teammate?
I would prepare him for what he's about to endure for the next 80 games, okay? Because he is going to have a bullseye on his back, both at home and on the road. Wear earmuffs, put cotton in your ears, do whatever you got to do to block all the distractions out, because we need this guy more than ever right now, and he's got to come in and produce, and it's good to see him swinging. He swung about well down in Gwinnett. So, hopefully he steps right in and provides that spark. The only way that you're going to silence the boos is to perform. Yeah. Like, he comes out and hits 320 in the second half and hits some homers and plays good defense and sparks this team, the boos will fade.
So I had a little bit of a dick moment this morning. I'm going to just tell you that I did, because, and I've been thinking about this. It wasn't like spur of the moment. When I keep hearing about the return of Jurickson Profar, is going to do this and going to do that, I go, look, he's a 245 lifetime hitter with 111 home runs, 444 RBI. I've seen better players, quite honestly, come back from injuries, come back from whatever. I just think and maybe this is semantics to me, the return of Jurickson Profar. Brother, he ain't ever been here. That's part of it. I don't know this guy. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like that concept of, well, it will and could make this team better. And boy, do they need that quickly and a lot. I just find it sort of that people are living in what I would have thought is a fantasy world if you're labeling it the return and here we come because of this guy.
And that's a fair statement, because you just listed all the reasons why most people such as yourself would say he's just another guy. Okay. He might be just another guy, but he had a great season, last year. Now, is that the outlier? And then he gets popped. Does he revert back, or has he matured late and is just learning how to get the job done at the big league level? This guy was one of the top prospects in baseball. Did he live up to it? Probably not up until this point, but everybody matures at a different level. I choose to give the guy the second chance to come in here and prove that he's the Jurickson Profar from last year, as opposed to the one from his first, 6 years.
And be a good teammate going forward.
100%.
Yeah, because that's the other part.
Well, we automatically assume that. Look, Jurickson's a great kid.
You like him. You told me that when they signed him.
I like Jurickson. He's got an electric smile. He sought me out as a switch hitter, which I love. I was going to go introduce myself anyway, but he sought me out. And I had an aha moment with him in spring training as a coach that kind of, gave me chills down the back of my spine, learning how to hit breaking balls coming into you by not trying to pull them.
So he said something to you, or you had an interaction? What does that mean?
We had an interaction. I mean, we were in the cage for probably 30, 45 minutes one day in spring training before everything got started. And he said, I'm having trouble with the cutter. And I was like, everybody has trouble with the cutter. I couldn't hit the cutter either. He goes, well, how do you hit it? And I go, you have to stay on top of it and inside of it. The first instinct of a hitter when they see a ball coming inside is to turn and burn, get the head out, pull the ball. When it's a cutter, slider, curveball coming into you, the correct thing to do is to stay inside of it and hit the ball up the middle. When you do that, you center more baseballs. When you try and pull them, what do you do more times than not is roll over, hit ground balls to first and second base, easy outs. When you stay inside of it and hit the ball to the off gap, you center more baseballs. And he once we started talking about it, he pulled a few and he was like, but then he stayed inside of one and he hit a bullet to left center, and he just kind of turns to me and his eyes were yay big. It was an aha moment.
So he's a 31-year-old guy who's played for 8 years in the bigs, and he had a...
Yes.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was that he went out that day and he got 3 hits. No, he got 2 hits, and his third at bat, he got the pitch that we were talking about, the slider that was middle in, breaking into him, and he stayed inside, and the guy ended up robbing him of a home run in left center field. But you could see him say, okay, I got it.
All right, go talk to him today. Listen, go talk to him today. Go talk to a lot of people today. You want to play a little bit of, I don't think I've ever gone down memory lane with you. You tell me, we're going to let you hear a piece of sound.
Okay.
And I think you'll be able to tell what it is pretty quickly, because people will talk over and tell you what it is pretty quickly. But this many years later, and some of them are this many years later, when you hear it, first let me ask this. How many full baseball games of yours do you think you've ever watched? Like, you played in them, and how often have you ever gone back to watch the full game? 95 World Series, 2000.
0.
You've never watched a full game?
0.
Have you any idea what was said nationally about a big at-bat you had, or what was said by Skip or Joe or Pete or Ernie Sr.? Yeah. You've heard some clips.
Yes.
But you've not really watched?
No. I haven't watched one. I haven't watched very many full baseball games since I've been retired either.
Is there a game that you would watch? With the 30th anniversary of the 95 World Series, is it too easy to say Game 6? Like, if we sat down to talk about Game 6, videos.
If we did a Manning cast on Game 6, I would be in for that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Listen.
Yeah.
We almost got you to go to the Ryder Cup, except you said no. Almost got you to go to Buffalo. You said no. And maybe a Manning cast with Game 6 would be kind of interesting. Yeah. Here's the first one. Listen to this.
Slowly toward third. Samuel can't get it out of his glove. And Chipper Jones on the first pitch he sees in the major leagues is hitting 1,000.
Yeah.
You're hitting 1,000.
Yeah.
There's no place to go but down, brother.
Yeah.
What was that?
Stinks after that.
Tell everybody what that was.
That was my first at bat. I had waited quite some time to get that at bat. I got 3 at bats all of September after my call-up. My job was to pinch run for Sid Bream. That was basically it. But we were crushing the Reds one night and faced a lefty named Kevin Wickender. And, I was not going to leave the bat on my shoulder. I was swinging at everything. It just happened to top it right in front of home plate and beat it out.
Who's responsible for getting the ball back for you? Or did you? I'm assuming you did.
Pat Corrales got it down there at first, and then they threw it to Avery and Maddox in the dugout, and they defiled it from there.
I figured. And where does it sit as a defiled baseball?
I believe it's in a sock somewhere. I have quite a few milestone baseballs that, believe it or not, they're still in a sanitary sock stacked on top of each other.
That's old school.
But they are labeled, and like I said, I'm not tremendously sentimental about these kind of things.
How about this one? Listen, how about you're not a home run hitter until you do this.
Deep to right field. And with one swing of his bat, Chipper Jones has untied the game. It's 3-2 Atlanta as Chipper Jones connects for a leadoff homer to start the ninth inning.
I think that's Chipper Jones' first big league home run. It is. And that was
What a time for him.
Yeah, and a rocket, too. Great extension. Look how he gets ahead of the bat out there on that pitch.
Big shot. Welcome to the big leagues as a home run
First
hitter.
home run, Shea Stadium. That kind of started the whole Shea Stadium New York Mets thing. Top of the ninth inning off of Josias Manzanillo, who I had faced a couple times in AAA, so I knew what he had. And again, a home run or a moment that I had to wait an awfully long time for. Got called up in 93, blew out my knee in spring training of 94. Obviously, we know what happened with the strike. The season started late in 95. So it had been almost, a year and a half since I had been on a baseball diamond. And, that first home run, I think, was, a week or two into the season. So I had gone quite a few at bats, but like they say in the golf world, once you make one putt, you start making them all. And I think I had 5 in a week after that first one.
What's the conversation that you're going to be a 3-hole hitter? Because again, your resume is, oh, look, I know, number one, you had done it in the minors, then you get hurt, you got to wait. How does the conversation happen that you're actually going to be, you've got to be productive coming out of the gate? That's
the funny thing. It never was talked about, I showed up in spring training one day and I was hitting third, and it didn't seem to be all that much consternation with Fred McGriff and David Justice hitting behind me, or Marquise Grissom and Jeff Blauser, or Mark Lemke hitting in front of me. It was. I think most people just figured, hey, this kid was groomed to hit third, coming up through the minor leagues, and that's just where he was going to hit. Now, in all defense for Bobby, that's what makes you a good manager. Okay, this kid can hit anybody's fastball. It doesn't matter how hard you throw it. Where's he going to see the most fastballs? He's going to see it hitting in front of a guy who hit 500 homers in the big leagues. They fear him. They don't fear this kid yet, So I was put into the perfect situation where I've got speed in front of me and power hitting behind me.
And you told me something in 96. It was after 95, and I repeat it all the time. You drive in 100, you score 100, they can say whatever they want about you. And when analytics came into play, they can actually dig a hole and tell you you're not this and you're not that. Yeah. You drive in 100, you score 100, you're a productive baseball player. I don't care what anybody says. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
That was one of many goals during the course of the season. I think, obviously we play a team game, so you keep the team's goals ahead of everything else. But when you are talking about individual type numbers, how you get to the 300, 400, 500 level that very few are able to achieve, it's going out and saying, okay, from a personal standpoint, I want to hit 300. I want to drive in 100. I want to score 100. And, I think whenever you have those goals, the 300, 400, 500 just kind of takes care of itself.
Would you be a 3-hole hitter? You come up now. Do you think there are some managers or systems, organizations that would not have you hitting in a 3-hole these days?
Yes, I think I would probably, in this day and age hitting the 2-hole. The fact that I could run early on in my career would probably help that as well, being able to set the table. But I would quickly tell whoever I was playing for that I would prefer, if asked, I would prefer to hit third, especially now that I don't have a pitcher hitting 3 spots in front of me 2 or 3 times a game. I would 100% want as many ducks on the pond as possible before I came up.
Right. And the right 9-hole hitter, by the way, we don't talk about it enough in baseball, but to get on base enough, to be driven in, opportunities enough, that's a godsend.
That's why this team was so good when Michael Harris was flourishing in the 9-hole, because he would turn the lineup over, not just with singles. I mean, he had speed, obviously, but he was doing some damage down there at the bottom as well.
You brought him up. I don't know if you'll have a conversation with him today. I don't know what your relationship is with him. But we talked about Mantles. He stood in front of his locker when he was not playing that first day, and I give him credit. It's the way he was raised. It's what you do. You stand at your locker and say, okay, I'm not in the lineup, but we're going to talk about it for a second. Mental, physical, whatever it might be, the tug on him, I can't even imagine what the tug on him is right now internally, let alone with what he deals with the outside, with everybody going, I don't know, that guy's got to sit. There's something going wrong with him. Do you have any concept of how, I don't know if you know him well, do you know how you would approach if he says, hey, Chip, how you doing? Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Yeah.
Is that normally how it starts?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I'll initiate. He's super kid, really quiet. It's kind of one of those, you got to speak to him to get spoken to, kind of guys. But I will certainly reach out and just say, hey, man, I'm here for you. If you want to talk, tell me where's your head at?
You might not even have a bat in your hand. That's the other part, right? Yeah. The conversation probably needs to happen first.
Well, and
if you want to do the bat thing,
like we said earlier, sometimes the mechanical turns into the confidence problem, or the mental, if you will. So we'll probably talk about a couple of things mechanically that I see that will hopefully get him some confidence and help the mental part of it. But he's got to keep pushing because, he's got the contract. We've already seen what's in the tank, what's in the tool belt with Michael Harris. We haven't seen a ton of it this year. We got to get that back.
All right. Let me give you one more good one. What about this one?
Chipper Jones had a single his first time up. Baldwin's 2-0 pitch. Hit in the air toward the gap and left center field and carrying pretty well, and this ball is gone. Hometown hero ties it at 1.
You talk about moments, having a moment. That was having a moment for me. That was one of the, top 3, 4, 5 moments in my career, being able, it's a once in a career opportunity to be able to play an all-star game in your home ballpark in front of your home fans, to be able to strut your stuff as one of the elite of the National League against the elite of the American League, and to go out, get a base hit off of David Wells in the first inning, come up in the second. Don't think that I didn't know that Hank Aaron hit a home run in Atlanta in the All-Star game in his opportunity. So to be able to follow suit, go 3 for 3, in one of those games that I'll remember for the rest of my life, truly etched in my brain forever.
How much responsibility do you have as you're not a hometown kid, but you become Bob Costas just called you a hometown hero.
I'm an Atlanta native.
Right. So, but what's the pressure when it comes to World Series All-Star games where people are sort of, hey, can you do this? Like, how quickly did you learn that trying to be the guy who's now going to try to dole out a World Series ticket or 6, trying to dole out a 12-pack of an All-Star game ticket, that you just got to go, whoa, I got a job. You really do have a job to do.
There's some pros and cons to it. I think everybody wants to have that level of respect, have that level of stature in the game, but it does come with some stuff that you have to swallow hard on. The media ops go way up. Like you said, you have family that you never knew you had that wants to come, not just come to the game, but like be a part of your life now, be all of a sudden be a best buddy. People that you wouldn't even acknowledge your existence in high school now, want to be best friends. All these things, that goes along with it. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't trade it. It's what I signed up for. I wanted to play baseball at its highest level. I wanted to be elite at baseball at its highest level. And there's certain times when you have to swallow hard.
All right, we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick break because I want you to hear that was all the good stuff. It hasn't all been great. Mm-hmm. I don't want to bring the room down, but there's something I want you to hear, and I want your reaction when we come back. There's also, I believe I found actual audio of, Matt, do we find audio of Chipper and his dad in the backyard in like 1982 where his dad is actually, just being a baseball kind of dad helping his kid? I think we found some actual audio of that. I think we're going to play that as well. Stick around. It's all coming up right here with Chipper Jones on 680 The Fan.
The 12 o'clock.
Swing high fly ball. Belton right center. And the Braves have won it.
That is some King Kong
I didn't know Ben was calling games back then. Who knew? Oh, a little bit of editing involved. That might be is that a Philadelphia home run? Is that perhaps against the Philadelphia Phillies? And you're not a child at that point.
The baddest ass home run.
That was my last one off of game winner off Jonathan Papelbon. Any walk-off against a division rival is a big one and a memorable one. Obviously, you want to go out with a bang. That was September 2nd.
Yeah.
So
you had another month to hit a home run.
Yes. I really felt like 470 might have been in the cards, but it wasn't, and that ended up being the last one. If it was certainly a memorable one.
How much I mentioned this about Mike Trout. I don't know if you know this. Mike Trout has missed 459 games in his career. He's 33 years old. He's got the numbers he's got, but he doesn't have 1,000 RBI yet. Doesn't have 400 homers. It feels like he should have blown past that, and he would have. He missed 459 games. Yeah. I don't know what you missed because you had, as I like to say, $10 million eyes, 10-cent feet. And we brought this up. You had to get shut down. You had surgeries, multiples. Does not having 500, I don't want to say bother you, but does it bother you?
That's a great question. It only bothers me from the standpoint of I would have been the last National League player to get 500 and 3,000. All right.
In the National League.
In the pitchers hit era. Right. Okay. Yep. So that would have been a cool, name me the National Leaguers that spent their whole entire year.
Oh, that'd be Willie Mays. Oh, that'd be Hank Aaron. Yeah, there were guys that you just go.
There aren't very many of them.
No.
I mean, you can look it up, but to be the last one and to be in that select group.
The smaller group.
I second guess maybe, hey, let's, but see, that's me hanging around for numbers. And I swore that I would never do that. My legacy was written well before my career ended and has nothing to do with having 500 or 3,000 hits. Okay. So me being selfish just to stick around to achieve some numbers, that's not me. That's not how I
Well, let me also let people know, and you don't, again, have to go into details. I think we've talked about it. I know we've talked about it off record. You would have had an opportunity to chase numbers and pick up a paycheck because it's not like your phone didn't ring when you were done, correct?
Correct. But I didn't want to play the game unless I could play it at the level that I was accustomed to. Mm-hmm. And I was getting to the point where I couldn't play the game at the level or put up the numbers that I was accustomed to putting up.
I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if it's accurate or not. Not getting to 500, you think about it, it's a milestone number with 3,000 hits that would have just put you in the rarest of the rare. Had you finished your career hitting 298, which one would have bothered you more?
The 298.
Yeah. Explain to everybody what that. Yeah. I love when people say batting average doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Go ask.
You can't tell me it didn't affect Mickey Mantle. who
ding.
Yes, who finished at, I think, 298 or 299. Like a 300 hitter, that's a certain badge of honor, that goes along with hitting 300, and anybody who finishes at 298 or 299 will tell you, damn it, I wish I could have gotten, 2 more hits.
Right, whatever
career.
It would have been.
Yeah.
And think about it, too. Like somebody said this, the difference between 250 and 300, if you do the amount of hits a month, it's not what people think it is. But to do it is everything that people know it is.
100%.
Like you can do math on it and you go, but you can't also get greedy. So I don't know how many games you missed. Was there I saw you, there's a picture probably in your phone. You had an ankle that looked like it was in a plane crash.
Yeah.
Was that I didn't want to ask, was that the worst one when you look down and you go, well, this thing's just blowing up and now it's turning all different colors and there's no way this is going to be a tape job?
That's the first time that I've ever felt like crying on a baseball field. That hurt so bad. Like I've blown ligaments and it hurts. You hear the pop and that pain is excruciating, but it goes away in about 30 seconds. So I get hit with this line drive at third base. Oddly enough, B.J. Upton. He hits a line drive off Tommy Hanson, God rest his soul, to my left. I take a jab step to my left, and I only chance I have is just to olay it, Ball stays down, misses my glove, hits me in the ankle, okay? And the adrenaline kind of, I was like, I'll be okay. But I used to ball my socks up over my high tops down, so it was pretty tight down there. And I could tell that this thing was blowing up, even more so than I can possibly explain to you. I played 2 more innings. I played another at bat and I came in to Freddie and I was like, he saw tears in my eyes. He was like, are you okay? I was like, no, I cannot go anymore. And I went and I took my socks off and I thought I had broken
everything.
Yes. Whatever. I thought everything was shattered because from my ankle all the way up to my knee, it was already black and blue. I had a blister the size of a baseball.
Right.
Where the ball hit me.
Did you have ball stitch marks? Like, wasn't there like,
no, it was just the blister.
Okay.
But the blister was the size of a baseball, and I pinch hit, for maybe 4 or 5 games after that.
Oof.
And I couldn't get the swelling out. So it finally put me on the DL and they had to go in and surgically lance it and before it would get better. 44 cc's of fluid came out of my ankle.
And that's the one pain-wise. That's the one that
sticks in my...
Yeah, like I could think it. Like people would say, I could smell that Seagram 7. Oh, that was a bad experience.
And I will text you the picture of my leg. And
you send it to me.
You can post it.
Okay.
And just to show everybody, what it looked like after it happened.
I'm looking at it right now. This is gnarly.
Yeah.
Well, because the other part was, I don't want to say... you're Chipper Jones. I don't think you got in trouble. But you did tell me once that you were going to get a surgery. And I asked you once, twice, 3 times, can I say this out loud? And you're like, yeah, it's going to come out. And remember what happened. And then at some point they said, we can't really tell people we're going to get surgeries around here. So we announced as a team, we're going to get surgeries around here. So I remember, and I remember the pain. So I want you to hear 2 things. And again, it's called bringing the room down. It is bringing the room down. But I need your instant reaction. Because while I'm assuming living it, what it is you felt, when you hear it, what is it you feel?
Simmons, fly ball, shallow left. Back is Cosma. He'll take it. He'll call. Oh, it's going to drop. It falls. Miscommunication. And the bases are loaded, and Boggs can't believe it.
This crowd's been crazy all night. I wonder if it affected their communication.
They're calling it an infield fly rule. Wow. One umpire did. That's why Freddie Gonzalez is out. Well, this is a huge call here.
You
cannot call that an infield fly.
way.
It's too deep. He wasn't camped. That ball went up. And infield fly rule was called immediately. This is a game-changing decision.
Huge disappointment. Obviously, it's the last game that I ever played, the last game that I ever donned a baseball uniform, for it to end in such a manner. Now, in all fairness, we played a horrible defensive baseball game. And, you know, my error throwing the ball into right field on a potential double play on a Matt Holliday smash was the ringleader. But I think everybody on the infield made an error that night. But the game is never over until that 27th out. And to have a infield fly called on a ball that I believe was measured to be 77 feet into the outfield that's a bad call, you know, and I would have liked to have seen where that inning and our offense would have gone had they just let us play.
Do you go look at replay? Like, do you go run it? Like, is there a place for you to go?
I don't know. The infield fly would be one of those off-limits type plays. It's a judgment call,
but
right?
Do you go to look at, like, do you want to go see it on tape? Like, do you at some point go, how bad a call is this? Is this as bad as I think it is? Like, you must be thinking, this is a terrible call.
Yeah, and the one saving grace for the shortstop, I can't remember who the shortstop was that he was waving his arms and saying, I got it, and then all of a sudden, Matt Holliday, I'm going to make a business decision right here. Right. Matt Holliday's bearing down on me.
He's a biggin.
But the fact that he was waving his arms saved his bacon, because if he's just running and pulls up, I don't feel like that call is made. I feel like the umpire thought he was under it and had a bead on it, and that's why he made the call.
Can I say this, though? The umpire's job is obviously to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm an umpire, and even if I had an inkling, this might be in it, when I see their reaction amongst the two of them, all bets are off. I know what players know. There is no way shortstop and left fielder look at each other the way they did, and you're going to tell me that was in control. Like, if I'm an umpire, Sam Holbrook is the guy, I got to look and go, their body language is telling me that's just miscommunication.
Correct. So, and whatever happened to, you know, 5 other guys getting together with Sam and saying, Sam, you know, our safety may be in trouble walking out of here tonight. Man, you know, it was 75 feet into the outfield. Maybe we let the play stand, you know, as a single, When
you go back on the field, do you say anything? Like, you're looking at an umpire. Are you going, are you kidding me? Or, I know you can't get thrown out. I know you're not supposed to run out of the dugout. We saw what happens. The manager's pissed, rightfully so. But do you say anything at any point? Home plate umpire, third base umpire.
No, because Sam was a pretty defensive umpire as well.
So it would have ratcheted?
Yeah, and I just don't think, emotions were high. It's a playoff game. It was the first ever wild card game, I believe, and it's my last game. The house is packed. I got a standing O every time I came to the plate that game.
You feel robbed? Like the outcome?
I would have felt robbed if we had played a cleaner game.
Okay.
I feel like the fact that we were even in that situation and behind, because Medlin was pitching a hell of a game. Freddie sits McCann in favor of Rossi, and Rossi hits the 2-run homer. And then, our defense just fell apart. I think if it was 2-0 and they had scrapped and clawed for to get it back to 2-2, and then that happens and we end up losing in extras or something like that, then that would have been a much tougher pill to swallow.
Right.
But I did a ton of interviews after the game, and the first thing I pointed to was, look, we didn't play a clean game on defense. We were in that situation for a reason, and we didn't play well. So I tried to shield Holbrook as much as I could, but it was a bad call.
I was chasing Joe Torre down the hall. Torre had to do a press conference. He was like the head of the umpires, whatever the hell his job was.
Yeah.
And I'm screaming, you better make this blanking right. Joe, if you're having a press conference, you better fix this. So you got Joe Torre and all these people from baseball.
What's he going to do? What's he going to do in the annals of Turner Field after the fact?
I thought what he should have declared is this game is now null and void. We'll play it again tomorrow. That's what I thought he should do. He's Joe Torre.
I am in total agreement
Thank you. All right, I want you to hear real quick. I think we found some, the internet is really amazing. Like, you can find a lot of stuff on the internet. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
I think we found some audio. It's actual video, but we have the audio here of you and your dad working in the backyard. You know, it's tough to make a Hall of Famer. So here's a little insight into how it might have went.
Gagliano, is your glove allergic to the grass? Okay? Because if you keep the glove here, the ball's going to roll right under. Touch the grass when you're coming up and come through the ball. You think Trouty's glove is afraid of the grass? No, it ain't. Why? Because I know. Because I told him. Let's go, Gagliano. Hit him in the chest. Oh, yeah? 2 o'clock in the morning last night playing video games? Let me ask you, so you think Mookie Betts is up till 2 o'clock in the morning playing video games? No, he ain't. Something to think about. Go ahead, Montesanti. Hit him. Go. Spadini, we can't be afraid of the ball. You think Bobby Witt Jr. is afraid of the ball? No, he's here, and the ball comes here. Always in the chest. Gunnar Henderson, too. That's what I taught him.
Is it bringing back fond memories of a backyard in Florida going, oh, yeah, I remember those days when my dad would call me the wrong name 4 times, and he would bring up players in the future.
My dad's country accent has turned New York.
Well, what happened is when he got upset with you, I believe the New Yorker comes out in all of us.
Vinny from the Bronx.
From the neighborhood.
From the neighborhood.
What's the hardest your father ever? Because, again, we joke about travel ball, Coach Dad. What was the reality of if you're having a bad day, your mind's not here, your dad's spending the time out with you? What was the reality of his version of, hey, man, if you don't want to be here, we don't have to be here today?
I don't know that we ever had a conversation like that. I will say one thing. This is the first time I ever swore at my dad. Last time I ever swore at my dad, too. I'm 18. I'm at Bowles. I am living on my own. I am going through this whole draft process, college coach process, agent process, all by myself. And we are playing a game at home, and I'm playing shortstop, and there was a ball that was hit between myself and the left fielder, much like the infield fly that we were just talking about. And I pulled up. And what my dad didn't know was that the left fielder called me off, okay? So I get out to the parking lot. My parents are about to ride 2 hours home. And my dad goes up one side of me and down the other for not catching that ball. And he's in the middle of ranting and raving. And, I mean, we are nose to nose. And I got a pause, and I kind of jumped up in his chest, and I said, the left fielder called me off of the effing ball. And it never dawned on him that was a possibility for some reason. It was just, he should have caught that ball. That's his ball. And maybe it was my ball, but I was called off. He has priority over me in catching a pop-up in between us. And you could just see him. He was shocked that, number one, I stood up for myself like that to him, which I had never done. But number two, it never dawned on him that the left fielder called me off. And so we had one payphone in a dormitory at Bowles, and about 2 hours later, my mom called. Some kid came into my room and said, your mom's on the phone. And I go, oh boy, I'm about to get it from mom now, you know? And she said how proud she was of me, that dad is very sorry, that he's going to, it might take him a couple of days to kind of come to grips with it, but that he was wrong. And they spent the better part of 2 hours, arguing over their points on the way home. But just little things like that, yes. But never, the game of baseball was never pushed on me. It was never like shoved up in my face by my dad.
Do you feel bad for guys that you know have had that?
Yes.
Stage mom, baseball dad, whatever it is.
See, here's the thing. Most of those kids, when they have parents like that, when they get out on their own, they gravitate away from the sport, you know? Yeah. I can think of many times, you know, whether it's football or baseball or basketball, where it's just been that every single day, and the parents pushing them. And the second they get to college, you know, they forget about, they don't want to play anymore. You know, we call it the burnout factor.
Well, it's just, look, you and your dad having that moment probably ends up being one of the greatest things ever, because there's probably now, oh, wait, he's not 15 anymore.
Right.
He's not 16 anymore.
Right.
He's going through stuff.
He knows what he's doing. You know, and I feel like that was a time when they kind of let go, and they were like, man, he's grown up. He knows what he's doing. He can handle this himself.
Were you ready? We'll do this real quick, then we'll take a break. Were you you've told me the stories about, and by the way, you're a bullseye. You're a 1-1. You decide to buy a Corvette. Not a great idea. Now you're a bigger bullseye, literally and figuratively. Yeah. Hey, tell everybody how many times you got hit your first year.
I got hit, I believe, 17 times in 44 games.
Good God.
Yeah.
And that is because?
I was 1-1. I was cocky. People thought that I needed to be knocked down a peg, and maybe so. But yeah, to get hit that many times in 44 games, do you know how many times I got hit in my career in the big leagues?
Less than that.
Less than that. Yeah. So,
would you have hit you at 18?
If I were on another team pitched. If I were on another team and I was a pitcher, and see, because we housed with two other teams at Pirate City. It was the Pirates and the Expos and the Braves. We all lived in the same dorm. We all interacted with each other. We all hung out. So there were fights in that dorm daily. You know, there were people talking smack daily, you know, and guess where you took out some frustration? On the baseball field. Yeah. You know, you could, if I didn't like a certain shortstop from Pittsburgh, best believe I'm going in hard. You know, if I don't like a hitter and I'm a pitcher, best believe he's going to wear one in the ribs before the day's over.
And the other thing, everybody look.
And then I want to strike him out next at bat.
That's right, because now you're a 1-1 guy, and what does that guy want on his report?
That I struck out the 1-1 guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a burden and a curse, and it's also you do get looked at differently, and that can be really good, but you better be ready to know that you're going to be looked at differently.
See, here's the thing. I will guarantee you that the Atlanta Braves wanted all of those things to happen to me, because they didn't know what they had. You know, they didn't know how tough I was. They didn't know how much I wanted to play baseball. They found out real fast.
Yeah, and that's got a report that says you brush yourself up, you got back up. Yep. I hit a double off the guy. Yeah, those are the moments that you go, okay, you might have won the pitch. Yeah. I won the battle, if not the war. Yeah. All right, we're going to come back. Chipper Jones, we got some things we're going to do in the 1 o'clock hour, including, I'm not saying it's a business proposition. I don't believe that you should really mix, but I might have a business proposition. I know that you play fantasy football for a long time. I'm not getting into your business, but I think you might have an interest in what it is I'm putting forth. And listen, if you want to, I'll let you be the first one to buy in. And you can name it with whatever the hell you want. I'll give you, this is like Shark Tank. I'm going to pitch something to you, and you tell me if you would like to invest. We'll do that in the 1 o'clock hour when we come back. Also want to tell you the 12 o'clock hour as we finish up has been brought to you by Scanner Energy, the official natural gas. 12:57. Welcome back in. I want to thank the Hall of Famer Chipper Jones for sitting in. Got another hour. I'm going to let you watch something. I pulled it up on the computer in front of you, but I want you to hear it as well, and I want you to tell everybody what it is you're seeing as we get ready to play that. But do want to mention the 1 o'clock hour is going to be brought to you by Shane Company, your friend and jeweler. The 1 o'clock hour. Chipper Jones is going to go over next door. Before I play a piece for you, and a couple of people have asked me this to ask you this. I mentioned a conversation with players. I think it starts with a conversation. Do you let a guy that you're thinking about, let's just say helping or talking to, do you let them decide if it's cut-ups or if it's go to the cage or if it's look at video or me at my best, me at my worst? Is that something that you let somebody decide? And is that what is supposed to be done when you're trying to work with somebody, let's say on whatever it is they might not be doing well?
It is. A lot of it is just talk. You know, I was big on talk. I was big on having not mandatory meetings, but a group of us would get together and we'd sit in a cage, and I'd stand there, with a bat and a ball on a tee, but it was 95%, hey, throwing ideas around, because I can think of so many conversations through the course of the years with guys where they say something and I'm like, ding, 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 right. It clicks for me, So the more guys we get together, the more ideas we start throwing out, the more we talk about trying to be better mechanically, better fundamental. Something that I say may click for some guy, and it may get him off to a hot streak. So it's not necessarily the get in the cage nuts and bolts of it. It's more the talking and mental part, trying to strike the right chord with a guy.
How many times would you tell somebody, or even tell yourself, put it down? Today's not the day. If I go out today and I try to overwork this, my mechanics are crap, I'm just going to make it worse. Pitchers seem to have told me that you got to put it down once in a while because I'm only going to do bad crap out there. I learned this in 1999. I was actually, that was my MVP year. I was actually scuffling. And Don Baylor, we were in Shea Stadium. We were in New York, and we were facing, I believe, Yoshii, okay? And he said, do not get to the park until 6 o'clock. He's like, don't pick up a bat. Don't do anything. Don't get to the park until 6 o'clock. I'll talk to Bobby. He goes, you're pressing, you're scuffling, you're struggling. Get away from it. And I hit 2 homers that night and went on, that trajectory. Did you have hives? Did you have hives thinking about I'm not getting to the ballpark till 6 o'clock?
It was difficult because I have a routine. Yeah. I was like, can I just come to the ballpark and not hit? He goes, nope, get away from the ballpark. Really? Like I'll send a car to pick you up.
Why did he know that?
Years of experience, I would imagine. I don't know why. I think you see something, you're around somebody so much, so often, and when you see something different, you do something different, and that was his, hey, we're basically giving you a day off until game time.
Right.
You're not taking ground balls, you're not hitting, you're not going to play cards, you're not going to eat, clubhouse food. Get there at 6 o'clock, put your uniform on, and strap it, show and go.
You've gone out of your way to mention Don Baylor a bunch of times. Yeah. To me, I know a lot. How are you able to thank a guy like that? Like when a season ends, it's an MVP and it's everything else. But how do you, is it, I don't want to say a simple thank you.
Give him your adoration each and every time you see him. I think that's the only way. There's nothing monetary that he wants. There's nothing... I can't send a grown-ass man flowers, or anything like that. But to go up whenever I see him and give him a hug and tell him I love him, and he knows, or he knew, that how important he was to me, because, he took me from a pretty good player to a really good player.
And you've said his name. Like, that's the other part. You make sure that people know that. Yeah. It takes a village every once in a while. I'm going to tell you who the village leader was that year. All right. Let's play this piece of sound and hit play. And you tell me. So let people know. Mickey Mantle, who was your guy. You met Mickey Mantle at a card signing. And again, when somebody's your guy and he's a generation plus before you, but there's your dad and there's this influence and it's the switch hitter and it's everything you hear about Mickey Mantle. I want you to hear this, but I want you to watch the video at the same time.
The Yankees go on the road and won't be back until Memorial Day. May the 30th, doubleheader against the Minnesota Twins. First game at 1. Here's the payoff pitch. This is it! There it goes! It's out
So,
of here!
pull it down. That's Mickey Mantle's 500th home run. And I don't know if you've seen it or not. But that's the 1967 version of Mickey. He retires in 68. What do you see when you watch him, that version of him rounding the bases?
I see a guy who's got a lot of mileage on those knees, and I can certainly attest to how he feels. They weren't able to do the things back then that they did for me and my knee problems. But, he was hobbling around on probably one knee that didn't have an ACL in it and another knee that probably was bone on bone, didn't have any cartilage in it. So it's sad to watch. It's an iconic moment. Obviously you've got one of the greatest players to ever don a baseball uniform hitting his 500th home run in Yankee Stadium. That place was, I'm sure, chaotic. But on the other hand, sad because there was so much more there if he had his, health throughout his career. And let's face it, folks, I mean, very few of us have our health consistently throughout a whole career. But when you see a generational talent like that, you certainly think that he probably could have busted 600 or 700 home runs during the course of his career had he been healthy.
I think the other reason I showed it to you is the concept of, and it was Joe DiMaggio who said, and I don't know if it's a T-shirt or cliched, hey, why do you play hard every day? Well, because somebody might be seeing you for the first time. When you're an older player and you've had the moments that you guys have had, and you've had those, do you worry about not getting around the bases very well? Do you worry about not being able to bend over and make a play at third base? I'm seriously asking because I think that, and sad is the word that it's an unbelievable accomplishment. You're earmarked to not give up home runs to a guy because he can beat you, but he still beats you for 536 home runs. When all is said and done, I know I'm not supposed to give up a home run to that guy, but he's good enough where he's going to hit home runs. But the idea of running around the bases there, I can't even imagine like being beat up physically and knowing the baseball team's not very good at that point. This guy was a world's champion. We don't all get to have the big bow, the let's go out with a bang. And everybody says, wasn't that wonderful? I just see that guy rounding the bases and I go, oh God.
Well, it's a tough pill to swallow. And I would imagine that most of Mickey's friends that knew him probably felt the same way that my friends, what they said to me when I was coming down to the end. They're going to have to rip the uniform off you. There's no way you're going to quit. My agent, he was telling me, you can't pull the Brett Favre stuff, man. You can't you got to be sure when you're done, you're done. You can't be coming back and sitting on the fence and putting this kind of pressure on the organization. And I agree, but did Mickey look like he had a problem hanging it up after 536? I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, his body told him so, right. And my body in the spring of 2012 told me the exact same thing. And while I, gutted it out through, 2012, there was no way, just like Coach K said, there was no way I could go home that offseason and even stomach preparing for 200 games the following year. The preparation, I just couldn't do it.
All right, we're going to go down a little bit more. 95 World Series, 30th anniversary. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Chipper Jones, again, kind enough to be in with us. There's a couple other things I also want to ask you about NIL, because you grew up in a time when it was sign your scholarship, get your food plate. If you're going to go to college, here's your room. There's your desk if you want to go to class, whatever, and we're going to give you food. I want to ask you what your thoughts on is you've seen the evolution now of everything that's changed in the world of college football. We'll come back and we'll do that right here on 680 The Fan.
The 1 o'clock hour is
We're back. 1:13. Do want to mention we have the Cornhole tournament. The Fan and Cornhole ATL, and I swear to God, this is the thing. Cornhole ATL. They're teaming up to host the inaugural 680 All-Star Cornhole Cup Saturday, July 12th. It's coming up at Smyrna Village Green Park. Now, there's going to be all sort of levels of cornholers.
I wish I had time to check that out.
Yeah, I don't know what you call yourself, you cornholers, but let's just go with cornholers. Brian Finner, who's supposedly an all-star cornholer. Matt Chernoff, who nobody believes is an all-star cornholer. They're actually going to be the guys to actually lead you through this whole thing. A co-ed tournament open to anyone 18 and older. Feature both competitive and casual divisions, and on and on and on and on and on and on. Don't forget, you can go to the 680thefan.com/cornhole today. Get registered. Come compete in the first ever 680 Cornhole ATL All-Star Cornhole Cup. Thank you to our sponsor, Whataburger. Chipper Jones is here. Competition. What do you do I know you golf. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. Is there anything other than golf where you can get your competitive juices flowing these days?
Man, it really is just golf. Like I'm so limited as to what I can do physically.
Yeah.
I would love to, go out and play pickup basketball.
Did you do tennis with your wife for a little bit?
I did. I did some mixed doubles with the wife, and to avoid getting a divorce, I stopped doing that because she yelled at me all the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Why do you come over to my side? Why do you hog the ball?" I said, "Because I'm an athlete. That's why." And
you didn't put woman at the end of that sentence, did you?
No.
Because I would imagine that.
No.
So hold on. Did you find this out about her? Listen, let's just say that as an outsider, I know that she's got some Kentucky in her.
Yeah.
She's got.
Yeah.
So you know that.
She's a really good athlete.
Right. But why would you go to her side of the court knowing that there's no winning this, brother?
No. Yeah, there's winning the point, and I trust me more than I trust
Interesting.
her.
But you guys have decided that tennis together is probably not for us.
Yeah, well, again, it's something that I would love to do with her in a more relaxed atmosphere. But again, I can't stand being out of service for the next few days.
Right.
Recovering from, 2 sets of tennis.
What a horrible, horrible place you're in. That 2 sets of tennis will lay you up for 3 and 4 days. Have you ever thought about anything, let's say a little less, darts, cornhole? Will you, and I don't mean like you don't have to go to the 680 cornhole thing unless you just want to be Chipper Jones and prove to the world that you can be a cornholer. But is there anything that you will do competitively? Rack 'em. Let's play, let's run a racket pool. $20 on the table because listen, I'm not putting your business out, but we did a whole thing yesterday about men's mentality, and I just want action. And I'm going to propose my business proposal to you in a second. But you have to have, I'll throw darts with you, but I'm not just throwing darts with you.
Right. Well, I know this is hard to believe for you. I'm not a big gambler. Like I don't play cards anymore.
Okay.
I like money. But if we're at the lake and, a buddy of mine wants to throw $100 on a cornhole game. Yeah. All right, let's roll.
What about pulling in the biggest fish in the next hour? Will you bet on things that you have no control over? Because I would, and this is the whole idea of
anytime we fish, we bet on the first fish and the biggest fish and the most fish. So there's 3 things. It's kind of like playing a Nassau in golf.
You just need it.
You play the front 9, the back 9, and the overall.
Now we're talking.
Yes.
Now we're talking. So let me let you hear this. I want you to find out. First, we're going to answer the question. Now, I understand that you're I'll say it again, not looking in your pocket, but you're in a little different financial position than most people listening.
Some say.
And good for you. And good for you in that regard. But it's more about the juice. Tell me what you think of as these proposals are made.
Would you rather have $1 million right now or $100 million, but you have 1 year to hit a hole-in-one?
But you saying I can just stay on the tee box and keep hitting until I make one?
Okay, how long legitimately? You for real think like an hour?
I got unlimited balls. I don't even got to walk and pick them up.
Yeah.
I'll be gone in an hour.
So I'm not going to give you a year.
That's beautiful.
And I'm not going to give you a year. Could you, I say here's $1 million or here's $10 million. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you today one hole. You know you're going to have the right club because you're going to hit enough. Would you take the bet or would you take the $1 million? Do you think you'd hit a hole-in-one over the course of an afternoon, let's say?
No chance. I'll take the $1 million.
You take the $1 million?
100%.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm probably a 4 handicap, so I have an idea. I have 2 hole-in-ones in my life. I've been playing since 13. So I've been playing 40 years and I got 2. So you're all of a sudden going to say, you're just going to give me unlimited balls and how far are we talking?
What I said today, I think it was 152. 152, the club. It's no trickery. It's no island. Yeah. 152, it's clean.
I'm going to take the $1 million and me and Mama are going to go on a trip.
Okay, so this is math for you at that point.
Yes.
You think it's bad math?
I don't have much time left, man. I'm soaking up the good times.
Interesting.
Coming down the stretch.
How about this one?
I'm over the hill, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Listen, I don't want to.
53. I'm on the downside.
Here's what I would say: you're not at the back end of the back 9, but you've made the turn.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I get an E9 maybe?
Yeah. What about this one?
Would you rather be given $1 million or be given $25 million if you hit the bullseye on a dartboard with 25 tries?
I mean, Zach, I'm going to give it a go.
Wow.
I know it's very, very tough to hit a bullseye. I'm going to try it.
I watched
We played
this video.
darts for about an hour. It took us a while to hit one, but at the end of the day,
It's possible, but really tough. Let's
Listen to
see
this.
what happens.
all right, here we go. Measured it out.
He did it.
No way.
First throw. I swear to God.
I
And this
can't
is-
believe that just happened.
Unbelievable.
So here's the thing. I don't know if you throw darts. I know you threw things for a living. Would you take, what was that one, $1 million or 25 million, 25 shots to hit a bullseye? What do you do?
I'm taking the 25.
You are, so you're in on this one.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you something. You're 18 in. There's
Yeah.
25 million at stake.
Yeah.
You're 18 and you got 7 left.
Yeah. The sphincter's shrinking.
Okay, so knowing your background, because this is the other part of it. Everybody goes, I got 25. They're all equal. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Because when you get down to 7 for $25 million, let's be honest. I said you probably do a 7 in your pants. That's 3 2s and a 1, and you got a mess in your pants.
A lot of that depends on financial background as well. Okay, so like we're talking, so I've made my money, all right? So the pressure would be less for me as opposed to someone who, makes $40,000 or $50,000 a year.
You're not living on the street if you don't hit a bullseye. Yeah. Eric just raised his hand. Here I am. Here he is. But you're not living on the street, so I understand that.
So,
but still,
he would be more likely to probably take the $1 million up front,
Yeah.
I was using logic. I would love to try for a full day to get a hole-in-one at 152 yards. But I also know how difficult it is and how lucky it is in most instances.
Do you think throwing a bullseye is lucky?
I think there's some skill to that. I mean, I've played darts enough that,
do you think you'd do it in 25? Take the money off.
I think I would.
Okay.
I think I would. You're talking about the little green area.
Yeah. That red or whatever the hell it is right in the middle.
I mean, again, if I made 40 or 50,000, I'd probably take the $1 million up front. But I mean, let's go for it.
Yeah, because it's action.
25 is life.
I mean, that's action. That's action money. Here's one more. And how often have you bowled?
I used to bowl every day when I was in the minor leagues. I maybe bowled 20 times since I was in minor league baseball.
May I ask, was there $5 on the line back in minor league baseball when you go bowling?
No, that was a time kill. While my future wife was going to school, it was just something I did to kill time.
You kill time.
And I got up to a point where I think the best game I ever bowled was a 263, but I kind of averaged in there about 180-ish.
All right. So you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Would you do this?
You'd rather be given $1 million right now, or you have an entire round of bowling to bowl a strike with your left hand.
I feel like 1 for 10, I could make a play there. Just go give it a go.
I'm not going to do it, Zach, but yeah, let's give it a go. He's claiming he's going to bowl.
So take it down. It doesn't matter what he does. You're gonna bowl. Now you're you're a switch hitter. How good are both?
I don't do anything left-handed other than hit.
So if you had 10 shots, $1 million, take it, or 10 shots, and if you need 20, I'll bump it to 20. 20 shots to roll a strike with your left hand.
I'll take the $1 million.
Okay, because you again are now doing math in your head.
Yeah.
As to you, are you visualizing yourself throwing a bowling ball lefty?
Yeah, it would look like a monkey effing a football.
Okay, but how's that possible? Can you play golf both lefty and righty? A little bit, or no?
No, I can't.
Oh, you can't?
No, I can hit the ball, but they're like being effective hitting the ball. I got no idea where it's going left hand.
So as a switch hitter, why do I think that you'd be able to maybe? I don't want to say play golf as well.
Because switch hitting is something I've done every day of my life since I was 7 years old. You're asking me to just pick up a left-handed golf club and I can make contact.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
But
don't
you can't
care,
play golf.
I can't play golf. That's not playing golf. Yeah.
How you doing these days, by the way, in that regard? Who you beating? Who's taking you?
Smoltzy's still unbelievable. He's still real good. We still play every once in a while. I got about 8 or 10 guys in the club that were single-digit handicaps, 2, 3, 4, 5 handicaps. So there's no strokes. We play straight up. There's never any drama. Everybody
knows everybody's game. Nobody's fudging.
Yeah, there's no trying to pull one over.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a couple of used car salesmen in the group that try to get, but for the most part, it's pretty drama free, and we play twice a week, and if we win a couple $100, great. If we lose a couple $100, no big deal. We're not out to make a living off of it.
Have you ever been taken? Like you're halfway through a round and you go, "This son, he got me."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like you've been hustled.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that like?
Like I said, there's some used car sales.
What's it like to know that you got...
Well, you don't play with them anymore.
But you got 7 holes left, and you go, this son of a... And basically what hustle is, it's not that they're having a good day. They lied about a handicap.
You don't press. Like, you have to take your beating. You don't press. You don't chase. You don't chase the bet, because that's how you lose double, especially in the last couple holes of a round. And, you just... Sometimes you're the windshield, and sometimes you're the bug.
Yeah, as they say, if you don't know who the sucker is.
Yeah, you're the sucker.
You shake his hand at the end, but is it a handshake that allows them to know that you'll never play with them again?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I've done that quite a few times where, hey, man, great playing. Don't ever call me again. Yeah.
So here's my business proposition. I think there's a business in what I call like 1 minute action, 1 minute betting, or just these types of things. You go to Harry's, go to the casino. I'm going to bet a basketball game. 2 hours, an hour and a half to tip. There's a bowling lane. Let's let guys actually bet. There's darts. Let's let them bet. And you come up with this, because men will bet on anything. I told the story. I bet someone, well, not a total stranger. I know the guy a little bit. I said, $10. There was a woman walking right down Battery Avenue. I said, $10 says in 45 seconds I still see her. Like, that's the bet. I just wanted action. Now, she could turn left, she could turn right.
You're a low-life gambler.
That's called a problem.
It might be a problem, but do you think there's a business in 1 minute action? Like proposals where you go.
Yes, I have enough family members who are degenerate gamblers.
That's such a harsh word.
It is. It really is. But yes, I think you're exactly correct with the action part of it's the adrenaline rush. You have to have
it. It's not the money.
I don't have it. I really don't.
Good for you.
I don't have to go to a casino and put money on the table, or a blackjack table, or a roulette table. I don't have to do that. I don't mind some action on certain sports.
Mm-hmm.
Love action on football. Love action on football.
Do you think you know it, and then that's why you like it the most, or is it just you like the game?
That being said, I haven't made a bet on a game in 2 years.
So fantasy is enough now too? Is that sort of how it works for you?
Fantasy is, we got a pretty big entry fee.
Oh, I remember.
For our fantasy football team. And to be honest with you, it's not just me. I have help. I have acquired assistant GMs to help me. Part of that is because I'm usually in the woods, during football season, so I need somebody kind of making transactions and whatnot for me.
Right, because you might not be in a cell tower range.
But the fact of the matter is, we sit here and we talk about, hey, I'm a Steeler fan and I'm a Falcon fan. But fantasy, and it used to be before fantasy, I would just care about those two games, and I wouldn't watch any of the other teams.
The NFL has figured it out.
Now I've got every game. I very rarely watch the telecast, but I will sit there on my computer, and the second somebody scores on a game, I've got all the games right there. I click on it. I find out who it was that scored, how far, who's, all this kind of stuff. And then I'm flipping back and forth to see, because we play 2 games a week in our league. And, I am addicted to fantasy football.
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to the NFL.
Yeah.
It really is, more than the game itself. You can tell me the Super Bowl and you can give me all this stuff. But
that's when the uptick in NFL popularity took off.
All right. Before we go to break, I'm going to ask you another question. We talk about players. We had Rocco Mediate on, golfer. And
I heard.
Yeah. So there is something about, I do this, but I would love to do that. I do this, and I look over there. Golfers want to be rock stars. Rock stars want to be players. I'm not saying the entirety of your career, but think about, I'm going to play you something, and you tell me on a level of, oh, yeah, I'd love to be able to do that almost as much as what it is I did for a living for as many years as I did. Listen to this guy play. Now, this song is supposed to be over, by the way. And then the guy from Dire Straits, Mark Knopfler, picks up his guitar and says, I don't think it's over yet. So he just starts playing at the end, the big thing at the end. How much is that? Like, have you ever thought about to have another skill? Like, you I don't say you got lucky, you worked it, but you got lucky. You got a really good skill and you were able to figure out how to use it. Have you thought about anything else that you go, oh, I'd love to be able to do that?
100%. I would love to be a country singer. Absolutely love to be a country singer. I would love, I say country singer. I would also have to have the ability to strum a guitar.
Right.
Okay. Now, I would also love to be the drummer in a band. All right. So it all centers around music because I am amazed by the talent of people who can play instruments. I can't. I can play, 3 Blind Mice on the piano. That's about it, So I've always loved that. I've always to watch how someone who can sing or is musically gifted can mesmerize an entire audience.
I think about, everybody's been at a wedding where Uncle Joe's going to sing. Sometimes Uncle Joe can't sing, but sometimes he can.
Yes.
And the whole room stops going, this guy? Because that's the beauty of singers. Yep. That's the beauty of instrument players, guitar players. They don't look the same.
Yeah, you could be the ugliest dude on the planet,
No
but if
doubt.
you can belt out some tunes, man, I'll tell you what. You have all the ladies swooning.
So you have do you think it's a different part of your brain? Have you ever picked up a guitar to try to, let me see what would happen. Have you ever, I'm serious, have you ever tried?
To learn?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you couldn't, or you just?
I'm not going to say I couldn't. I just haven't run across the right people in my life to be able to teach me. I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to. I'm a little far along now, but the bottom line is,
hold on. That's
I
not
can't
what the guys
sing. I can't sing.
Okay, but the guys on YouTube tell me you're not too far along. People say, oh, no, you can learn how to play the guitar in 38 minutes. I don't know if you can or not, but why don't you give it a shot if you want to do it? So you'd be pissed if you can just play because you can't sing.
Correct. I would have to sing.
What's the drummer thing? Like just keeping time? Is that you want to be in charge?
I don't know, man. I grew up just playing the drums to songs or thinking I'm playing the drums to songs, Josie's on a vacation for,
And you've got a kid in front of you.
And I'm just sitting there just going, and I don't know. I've just always been intrigued by the guys who can play drums. I'll give you a story. We were in San Francisco and they had a drummer down on the field pregame and he had the whole set, right? Well, they didn't cordon off his drum set while we were taking batting practice, and Eric Hinsky sat down and he just starts with this beat and everybody in the whole place was just like, yes. I mean, just thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he ripped it, and I was like, never knew he knew how to play the drums. Never knew it.
And I hope this is my vision of this. It was a one-off. He never did it again in front of anybody.
Well,
oh, he did.
I think the guy who owned the drum set put a
No, I'm saying later on though, like if it's a one-off, you go, I got to tell you the story about Hinsky. Who the hell knew?
Yeah.
And he just sort of dropped. It's like a mic drop. Just drop it and go. Yeah. That's what I can do.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, you know Eric. I mean, he's as cocky as they come, but you could just see the confidence overflowing. Like he's like, I know how to do this, and you guys had no idea that I knew how to do this.
So Matt, I'm going to regret this. Matt was a drummer.
Is a drummer.
I'm sorry. Once a drummer, always a drummer.
Stop being a drummer.
Is that true? All right, I apologize.
Just because I don't play anymore.
Okay. Do you think you would you put in the time in something like that? The time that you put in trying to do the baseball stuff. Like I'm a little surprised you don't have an out of baseball hobby. You play golf.
Yeah.
You got kids, and I understand your time is limited.
Yeah.
But you never came up with anything else?
No. Everything I did growing up revolved around something athletic.
Okay.
So even if it wasn't baseball, basketball, or football. We were, I don't know. I mean, we were fish, I guess. I mean, we did a lot of that when I was growing up. But if it wasn't one of those three, it was soccer. It was, ping pong.
What would happen? Would you do this? Let's say you did play guitar or drums. You can't sing, we'll take that out of the equation. Let's just say you could play. And you're at a concert. And I know you and your wife, you go to shows. I know that you're friends with, I mean, they're doing name dropping here, Jason Aldean and Luke Bryan and all those guys. If you had the ability and they called you up one day, how quickly would you run up the stage?
Oh, heartbeat.
So why didn't you learn? You have people who would call you up. You don't have to be great. What if you could actually...
Yeah. See, there you go. How many times have we done that over the years? Yeah. That's a great drum lead in. But I think this is all about being prepared, okay?
Okay.
Exactly what I was talking about
Back
earlier.
to taking a test.
Okay, so, people can't imagine the fact that you would stand up there 60 feet 6 inches in a Game 7 type situation and Roger Clemens is on the mound and not be nervous, okay? I'm not. It's just something I've done every day of my life since the time I was 7 years old. So I'm prepared for the test. I'm ready for it, right? If I had played the drums since I was 7 years old, I'd probably feel differently. But if I pick it up at 53 and I get called up to play a drum solo for Jason Aldean at his upcoming concert in August, you won't be able to drive a nail up my sphincter. I mean, it's just, I'm not prepared for it. It's not what I was put here to do.
How many of those guys tell you, though? Because I know there are a bunch of Braves fans. There's a bunch of country guys who are Braves fans, big baseball fans, big everything fans. How many guys have told you, I'd switch places with you in a heartbeat?
Oh, Jason Aldean tells me that, all the time. Aldean actually came out to spring training.
I heard, I saw him out there a few times.
And by the way, surprised me. Like, he was over at first and I was at third, and I was literally trying to get him to miss balls, intentionally throwing them in the dirt. He was picking them left and right. He's got some athletic ability. That he was the bat boy for the Macon Braves when he was growing up. Yeah.
So I knew he was a huge baseball fan. We actually had him on. There was an album release many years ago, and we had him on to talk about baseball because I'd seen him in spring training. So let me ask you this. Do you think he goes home and tells this story for the rest of his life that, oh, yeah, I was standing on first base. Chipper Jones was, like, of all the things, he wins Grammys and you go tour and you do whatever the hell it is you're doing. Don't you think that that's a story he's got in his back pocket for anybody he knows is a baseball fan?
I would venture a guess to say Tiger Woods would do the same thing. As great as Tiger is, the fact that he went out and made contact off John Smoltz in batting practice.
That's a story forever.
Yeah, 100%.
Were you watching that?
Matthew McConaughey came out. Matthew McConaughey is an athlete, too. He came out and took batting practice with us one time. So I was really surprised with his athleticism. But, I guarantee you Tiger brags
that McConaughey in person, devilishly handsome? He seems devilishly handsome.
No,
when the door opens, he's a little different.
And then a lot of it's the accent, the Texas accent, appeal. That's why so many people, you see so many people imitating his voice,
right?
Because it's magnetic, it goes along with the persona.
Yeah. All right. We'll take one more break. We're going to finish up. And again, thank you very much. We got a lot of things that we want to wrap up with. I'm going to ask you who stole your Gold Glove. I'm going to ask you who stole your Rookie of the Year. I'm going to let you tell everybody that you would like them back because you believe you're the rightful owner. And we'll get ready for Braves baseball tonight. Chipper Jones is in studio with us as we wrap up today on 680 The Fan.
Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over.
I got to be honest. You fake it pretty well because you look like you would know what you were doing with a guitar in your hand. Well, that's half the battle, isn't it?
I don't.
Are you, my wife, by the way, and I'm going to do this on air. My wife said to say hello. And the reason I bring it up on the air, it's only happened a couple of times. But my wife has never had more fun drinking with somebody at a wedding than drinking with you. And that, I've told you about your dad.
I'm a good time. I'm a really good time.
I got to tell you, you weren't bad. And what I kind of liked is I was just able to leave. You know, I didn't go drink. She started drinking brown liquor at a couple of weddings. She's never had brown liquor in her life. She was like, that was great. I was like, really?
Let me tell you something. Next to my wife, your wife's one of my favorite people on the planet. Like, I truly adore her. She is, I don't know why she's with you, but.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
she's one of my favorite people
you know
on
what
the
it is?
planet.
I'm going to tell you what it is. And she's okay with it. Lauren Shahadi, who we had on, I was able to say this.
Yeah.
If anybody thinks this is derogatory, they're not. And you can just say, I'm old, so maybe I'm just going to get grandfathered. My wife's a broad, in the greatest sense of the word.
Yeah.
Dress her up, go to the event where it's black tie. Mm-hmm. Take her over to the bar, drink tap beer. Mm-hmm. She's done all that stuff. And everything in between.
Hang out with the boys.
Everything in between. And know when it's time to leave.
And be gorgeous.
And know when it's time to tell me to leave, time to go home. Like that is. And look, I'm not dipping into your world, but you also have a wife that will tell you more truth. We have to go to this. You don't have to go to this. I'll go to this.
But the have-tos are few and far between enough where you're like, yeah, if she's asking me, then I need to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about socially. Oh, she can take care of it. Like, I think and by the way, any women listening, same thing. It's such a nice feeling when your spouse or significant other doesn't need to be handheld.
Yep.
The idea that I'm a grown person, I'm going to go drink with Chipper Jones, we're going to drink brown liquor. What's it to you? I look at her and go, you're right. What is it to me?
Yeah.
Go ahead and drink brown liquor. What do I care?
And she knows I know when to stop. Like,
right.
I feel like whenever I do, we do go out, I will tell her, I'm like, let's go. It's time. It's time to go.
Which is a mutual thing. As long as everybody understands it's time means it's time.
Yeah.
All right. 1 o'clock hour again is brought to you by Shane Company, your friend and jeweler. Who's got your gold glove? Give me the 1 year. Give me the 1 year that somebody you believe has your gold glove.
Well, I would have to say, so 97, I believe I had 11 or 12 errors, somewhere in that area. And Caminiti, it was a popularity contest back then, and Caminiti was all over ESPN making these acrobatic plays. I think he had 27 errors that year.
Oh my God.
And it was definitely in the 20s. I had a deal with Mizuno, and Mizuno so much thought that I should have won the gold glove. A lot of it's what glove you wear too. It was a Rawlings based award.
Right.
And I wore Mizuno. And, but Mizuno gave me, I had something in my contract, an incentive if I won a gold glove, and they gave me my incentive.
They paid off on it. So they knew. So did you feel, did you know you were not going to get it, or did you think you were going to get it?
No, I thought I should have won two. Objectively speaking, I thought I should have won two.
Did Roland get one?
No, the two, I never argued with Scott Rowland. That guy could pick it. I mean, flat out pick it. For me, it was Cammy in 97, and I believe maybe, it might have been 99.
But you wrapped up the year thinking, I was pretty good this year.
Yeah.
It
was later on. It was after I moved back. Okay, from left field. Yeah. And again, I had like 12 errors, and David Wright had like 23.
But you already won an MVP. You come back to play third base. Didn't you think you had a little sentimentality? Hey, we're going to give this guy a gold glove. We might have robbed him in 97. Doesn't work like that?
I don't think they think like that. I think they want, number one, it's a Rawlings-based award. I think they want somebody who is wearing their product, number one. And number two, it wasn't really researched, I feel, by the people who were voting on it.
Okay.
Namely, coaches, I believe it was coaches that were voting on it. And a lot of times whenever those things hit their desk, they hand it to an intern and say, here, just write Caminiti down.
All right.
I mean, Rafael Palmeiro won a gold glove in the league at first and played 2 games at first base.
That was one of the years that everybody just said.
Yeah. I can't take this seriously.
Are we turning in ballots from 3 years ago? Did somebody actually just pick up the wrong stack of ballots? Because I remember he was a DH way more than he was a first baseman.
Right.
You can name a stadium or not, a field that you really liked playing on, like as a third baseman, and give me one that you just said, oh, this 3 days is going to be a bitch.
Field anywhere in California, field-wise. L.A. Dodgers, probably the best. San Diego, really good. San Francisco, really good. Wrigley was awful.
On purpose? Because people used to say they clowned around with it a little bit.
It was pasture grass. It wasn't Bermuda. Like I said, the field was crowned also. So like I could be standing in left field and not be able to see the shoes of whoever was hitting, you know?
Yep.
It had a tremendous lip in the transition from grass to clay.
Is that a third baseman's worst nightmare is the lip?
Yeah. Worst nightmare. So I would either play on the lip, on the grass, or I would play all the way back. There was never any in between, because the first time you take one in the chops, or you know, a ball is hit to you and it literally hits that lip and bounces over your head into the outfield, there's a problem.
All right. Do you think Hideo Nomo has your Rookie of the Year award?
I wouldn't say so. People have asked me that all along. Am I mad about that? I won the Player's Choice Award for Rookie of the Year. That means a lot to me, because my peers chose me over Nomo. The writers chose Nomo. Look, the guy led the league in strikeouts and I believe ERA, started the All-Star game for the National League side. He was awesome.
I know, but my argument is he's not a rookie.
Well, we can argue, you know, what ifs all the time, but the fact of the matter is, as far as Major League Baseball was concerned, he was a rookie, and there's nothing really I can do about that.
Tell me something about bunting in a building, playoffs, World Series, standing on the third baseline, standing on the first baseline. You know, it's 95. We're running the game on Friday. We're actually running Game 6. We have the original radio broadcast. We've actually spoken to some guys to give us their thoughts on it. Let's just say that what you say might end up on Friday. What do you remember about 95? Is there anything we might not know? And here's my last one. I asked Javi Lopez the other day, and I asked Glavin, the hitters meeting for the pitchers. Javi said something interesting. He said, we knew how good they were. We see the numbers. But our pitchers were not going to do anything different. That's when you know you have the right staff. I'm not playing in your world. You're going to play into my world. What was it like in the hitters meeting, Hershiser, Martinez? Do you remember what it was like going into that series?
Yeah, I can remember the fact that we knew we were going to have to score some runs. It was a staff that we were more concerned about the back end of the staff, meaning Mesa, Ossenmacher. With our lefties, Ossenmacher was going to play a huge role in that series. We were not particularly worried about Nagy and Hill and Martinez. We knew we were going to have some success off of those guys because, let's face it, they're right-handed. They were not, dominant 10, 11, 12 strikeout guys. They pitched to contact. It was mostly Jose Mesa, and you'll see we hit Mesa pretty good, throughout the course of that series. And we were ready for him when he came in. Ossenmacher, I think we even scored some runs off him. We knew that we were going to have to win some games late, and the back end of our bullpen was going to have to expound upon what we knew the starters were going to do.
All right. You get to know Tomei well. You get to know Eddie Murray well, Hall of Famers, that you have a relationship that goes beyond the baseball field. It actually goes all the way to Cooperstown. Do you remember thinking about watching that lineup as you're standing at third, or just
scary?
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was so terrified that Albert Bell was going to hit a ball down there and it was going to go right through me. They had a scary team anyway. I mean, they get off the bus and you're like, damn, every guy is 6'3", 225, 230, 240. They had this look like the 27 Yankees, I would imagine, looked like. A lot of their power was, they had some lefty power that I wasn't really worried about. My job was to make the top two guys, meaning Lofton and Vizquel, swing the bat. they were not going to bunt on me. I was going to be right in their hip pocket. And, you know, I don't think they got any bunt base hits in that whole series. But, you know, the whole key to our success against them was keeping those two guys off base, and we did that pretty well.
Yeah, he was a hell of a table setter. Yeah. I didn't enjoy his time here, and I've been open. I'm not asking you, but I thought Lofton here was not a good fit in a few different ways.
Right.
But he was, if you go look at his numbers, if you go look at his career, he's...
Well, there have been a couple of hitters leading off games that we've played against through the years that if they went off and had good games, we were losing, you know. And, you know, I can throw Jose Reyes in that discussion. He was a dynamic leadoff hitter. Juan Pierre, you know, kind of the same dynamic as Lofton and Vizquel, Juan Pierre and Castillo down in Miami during their heydays. When those two got off and set the table for Cabrera, Miggy, and those guys, it was going to be a long night.
All right, we got 2 minutes. We're going to finish up. And again, thank you for your time. I got to ask you, the David Justice headline, you wake up, 95, you're new to the game, relatively speaking. You're new to the World Series and the pressure that comes with it. You have a chance to clinch. How quickly did you realize, oh, I'm not saying you were listening to sports talk radio. I've been doing this 31 years. I don't know if there was a hotter day. 28-3 the day after the Super Bowl, ridiculously hot. For the infancy of sports talk radio and the David Justice thing to happen was incredible in this town. Mm-hmm. And then he gets booed his first time up, and you're living in the middle of it. What are your thoughts as you look back to that?
Only one guy could have been able to handle that kind of stress and pressure, and it was David. David's kind of like Smoltzy. You know, the brighter the lights, the better David is. My second reaction was why? Like, why does that have to come out now? Why does that have to be said at this particular time? But you have to know David. He can sometimes be very militant, and you know he doesn't particularly like talking to the media, or didn't. And you know he made a mistake, but it certainly motivated him to go out and, like he said in some of the specials, he heard a couple of claps, a bunch of boos, and he said, I'm going to play for those people clapping tonight. And he put it on the back burner, and he went out and won us the championship.
The dog pile itself, and we'll finish with this. Explain what that moment is like as you realize Marquise is camped under it. You've seen 1,000, 2,000, 8,000 fly balls. What's the wait time, the hang time? Does it feel like it's
slow motion, standing still up until one point, and then this just culmination of sheer joy. You know, nobody really knows what to do. You know, Javi and Woe, they look like they had it all planned out, and then they're hugging, and I get there, and nobody's hugging me, and I'm just kind of looking around, you know, making sure I don't take a stray, you know, cleat to the face or something. And then we just go over, and I'm on top of them, and then everybody piles on, and it's a little scary because you have thousands of pounds of humanity on top of you, but you just you cover your head, you wait until you know
peel off,
the darkness clears and you can see the light again.
But I will, again, not to get deep, but I think it's one of the last bastions where grown men are truly allowed to act like children.
Yeah.
That moment.
Well, that's the culmination of 200 baseball games when you include spring training, regular season, and playoffs. The amount of preparation, practice, travel, games, sacrifices, everything that we always say is a part of championship teams, it comes to a culmination right there, and we'll act like, you know, 5-year-olds out there at that point.
Yeah, and thank God, it's all there for the world to see. I know you haven't watched one of these whole games, but people have gotten a great joy out of it in the 30-year anniversary. I do want to tell you, Buck Bellew, quarterback camp presented by Georgia Power returns to Providence Christian Academy in Lilburn Saturday, July 19th. Registration is free. Thank you, Buck. Wide receiver Lindsey Scott is going to be there with him. Don't miss out on Buck Bellew's quarterback camp presented by Georgia Power, sponsored by Classic Tents and Events. Visit 680thefan.com/quarterback camp to register for your chance to participate. I want to thank you very much.
One more thing before I leave. I just want to say that I hope you've enjoyed the last 4 hours of your partner not stepping on you every time you open your mouth. So
here's the problem. We all have voices in our head. We all just have to let them out when it happens. We just have to do it.
Y'all don't know me.
Yeah. But thank you very much. Yeah. Chipper Jones has promised he's going to go across the street with Tim Hires and everybody else. The Braves are going to be fixed. He will lay hands on Mr. Miyagi, everybody who needs it. No. Thank you very much. Seriously.
Right,
and I know the time greatly appreciated some of the stories. Beres Lee's coming up next. We got the Clubhouse Report. Braves Angels coming up right here on The Fan later on this afternoon after Game Day and Ford leadoff show.
Every day.
I'm out of here.
Bye-bye.
You know the next song on